Dre and Dave hit it hard in the dark, spinning tales from the void never bark. Movie shows they tear apart, dimensions clash, they ignite the spark. Couch debates, turn the volume up, set the chaos, overflow the cup. Alien worlds and twisted scenes, banter spreads like electric dreams. Outer dimensions strike a wave, trying days set flames ablaze, discussing bits and cosmic plays. Beyond the stars they find their praise. They find their praise. Ripping through the deep.
Hey guys, welcome back again to the Outer Dimensions podcast, the channel where we chop it up when it comes to movies, music, and much, much more. Guys, welcome to the Outer Dimensions podcast. Now, as always, guys, you know, sometimes we come with the heat. Sometimes we bring the hot stinking cheese. If you know the reference, you know the reference. But guys, it is May 2nd. It is May the 4th weekend. If you guys know, May the 4th be with you. A lot of people are celebrating Star Wars in every shape and form. We have a very special show, but guys, as always, guys, you know him. He's a father, a teacher, a toy collector, a lover of all things Sentai, the one true tribal chief. Recognize him. The Outer Dimensions podcast, Dre the Geek Dad.
Acknowledge me.
There you go. And we acknowledge you. And of course, guys, you know me. I'm the time traveling, dimension hopping, ghost busting psycho known as Dave's Dimension. Guys, we got a very, very, very special show to you. Now, Dre's going to be on his best behavior because he saw a little Marvel movie that came out today.
I just got back like literally 30 minutes ago. So I kid you not. I literally just walked through the door. That's all I'm going to say. We have a cup in the buckets in the kitchen. It's like half filled with popcorn still.
We got Ultra Carzilla in the chat saying Ultra Carzilla's in the house. What is up, Dre? Dave, although he's not here. What's up, Rolando? You know he'll be here any nanosecond now. So,
you know, I will leave it at that. But I will say also, for those of you that are celebrating May the 4th, you guys must remember that this weekend is also Free Comic Book Day. So make sure you hit up your LCSs, support them because they are going to be doing a lot of cool giveaways. I know we have, well, since I moved further away from my LCS, there are three, like, there's two close by that one I've used to frequently called Pennyworths here in North Carolina. So I probably may hit up Pennyworths. Yeah, it's named after Alfred. It's a small little hole in the wall. I may stop by there to get my bags.
Did he serve tea and crumpets?
No, they don't. But I will be more than likely. We'll be going to Rebel Base. I'm going to try to be good. I'll be on my best behavior and not spend money there. But they're doing a bunch of cool deals. So if you are local to North Carolina and you are in the area of Charlotte and you want to go hit up an LCS, Rebel Base is doing something really big. I know Heroes Aren't Hard to Find is doing something big, and so is Spandex City. Those are further out from me, but if you are interested, definitely check them out. But I don't want to like go off on a rant, but I will say that I'm not going to spoil this movie for anyone. Make sure you stay till the very end. And
when Batman shows up.
No, it's well, I'm going to tell Dave off camera. There's certain things I can't even tell Dave because he doesn't get to see it. So
I have not seen it yet, comrade. I will.
I know. Listen. Alexei tells you. Andre tells you. Mother Russia.
I need the bottle sriracha to put on my gourmet mac and cheese.
Oh my god! Let me tell you.
Come on.
Movies are too damn expensive.
I will do that.
I will. Let me go on a different rant before we get into this one. Movies are too damn expensive, and I will say it for this reason: it was cheaper to spend $18 for the regular popcorn, and then another $9 for a large drink.
9 times.
Right? It would have been almost $30 which I got churros and the popcorn bucket, large drink for free for $30. I
Now,
mean,
if I see the movie, I'm going to be seeing it at my local theater, like my local theater. It's like it's not even a big brand name chain.
yeah, I went to Regal. So just right, I went to Regal.
It's a Dipson, so they won't even have no souvenirs or anything like that. Although, you do have to get the bucket of popcorn. You gotta get the layered butter of popcorn. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
we usually tell people to do that. Like Lana and I usually are pretty good about telling them, like, hey, do the butter, like give us the popcorn half full, then we take it. But when it's a specialty bucket, I don't want any butter layered in because it's just gonna cake the whole thing, and then I gotta rinse it really well.
Well,
So we didn't do as much butter.
Roxanne has to have the butter layered. Okay.
So do I.
But
It tastes good that way.
But we also between she and I, we will put it away. We will put it away. So there is that. But usually what we do like lately when we do like a souvenir, like the ghost traps, or like when we procured the shield bucket from Captain America,
Mm-hmm.
sold us that, but they still gave us a regular bucket of popcorn. So that was cool. And AMC did that. I will say that. Props to them. Like they won't just charge you twice. They're like, oh, you want that, but you still want the popcorn, but you don't want it in that bucket. We get that. Okay. They hook you up with a regular bucket. So there is that. But guys, Dre and I, we have come, we came, we saw, we kicked some butts, and guys, we're here for a show. So let's bring it on. And by the way, a little reminder, guys. A little reminder. Okay. Next week, we will not be here.
Yeah, we won't be.
We will not be live.
And I will not be in the chat. I've made alternate plans. So if we have a video going up,
we will have a previously recorded in
yeah, I
front
think
of
they would
a
notice
non-studio audience.
The sunlight's going to be beaming through the window here in my house, as your house as well.
It's going to look different.
Yeah, we filmed that shit early, so you guys will be seeing us in the beautiful sunlight.
Different. So, but no, next week, I think you guys are still going to enjoy the show. We're still going to have, commentary. I think I will be chatting. I will be present in the chat next week. So you will have one of the brothers of deconstruction here. But following that week, if you guys have not paid attention, in fact, I'm going to pull it up just for craps and laughs. We did a little announcement this past week. If you haven't checked our YouTubes, let me pull it up for you myself. If it wants to work. Come on, YouTube. So let's go ahead and where are you? There we are. Come on. Technology is great when it works, guys. When it works.
When it chooses to work, most definitely.
Okay, so let's present alms. So guys, we did a little announcement this week. Let me pull up the volume. Move. That's right. We are moving to 9:00 p.m. Eastern time, guys. 9
Yes.
p.m. beginning May 16th.
Not later. Not Dave's time of 9 o'clock. It's going to be Dre's 9 o'clock because we are working. This earlier shift has been kicking my butt a little bit more. And it's getting rough to stay up past like 12 on a Friday night. On the Saturdays, it's not terrible, but
Dre's
definitely I'm getting older too. So it's like, I wouldn't mind getting to bed a little bit earlier. Even though I love spending time with y'all, it's, there are other YouTubers that do go later than us. I would like to kind of get onto their streams as well. So kind of, yeah, we're interrupting in a couple other streams, and I apologize for that because we're not trying to step on anyone's toes. We're not a game stream. We're not a toy talking stream. We're a movie stream and a show stream. And sadly today, I'll get into that like with what was today, because today was a little bit of a mismatch of ideas because it was last minute planned idea. Like I went to the vault of ideas to pull our show idea today, but 9 o'clock starting on the 16th,
9 p.m. Eastern time.
If our guests are not able to make that, we will make exceptions on occasion. But going forward, it will be 9 o'clock p.m. Certain guests that are long-term guests, we will definitely make that exception, like Brick or Allison, possibly even Oz, or Ed, if we had to make that allowances. But anybody new, no offense, we have tenure. There's a lot of groups that we mingle in. We're long-term friends with them. It's a little bit more of a reason where we can be a little bit lax. But when it's a newer guest, it will be 9 p.m. So I just wanted to put that out there as well. But enough dawdling, because I would love to spend this entire show not even talk about the topic, because after seeing this movie, I would love to talk about so much more, because there was so much to download. But I'm not going to do that. And we're going to actually talk about the reason why we did this topic. Brick, if you guys don't know, Brick Something, who is our co-host for our Sentai discussions that we do every month. This past month, or I should say in April, we did not have one because we were unable schedule-wise to get it in. So I tried to push it to early May. When that happened, Brick ended up, he's now hosting the West Coast meetup. So if you are on the West Coast for Mythic Legions, he's hosting in San Francisco with several other of the local people there on the West Coast. They're going to be celebrating Mythic Legions and the love of the fandom. And they're going to be doing that. So I was kind of sad, but Brick apologizes profusely. He wanted me to let you guys know that. He did message me and say, I'm sorry to you and Dave and to the fans. We were going to try to do it later this month, but we couldn't shuffle things around, especially with the fact that Dave is going to be missing in action next week. And I will be, since we're taking off next Friday. So sadly, there will not be a Sentai discussion till June. And that's going to be a TBD date because we're still trying to figure out some things with the guests that we have coming up. So that's how this came. Now, obviously, this topic is something Dave and I have spent hours, he and I privately talking about this topic. So as he eloquently said to start the show, it's May the 4th, celebrating Star Wars fandom. So we're here to celebrate our Star Wars fandoms, right, Dave? I mean, why not?
I mean, we're definitely celebrating a fandom, that takes place in the far reaches of space. But guys, as you can see, we have the logo of Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. But we have the word engage. What does the word engage means? It means that
actually, wait, I define it. The true definition of the word engage is to actually couple with something, to actually be a part of a larger whole. So we're not going to engage in Star Wars discussion because we are going to engage.
Shut up, Lieutenant Commander Data. Just shut up, Data. Shut up.
Do that. I actually planned to do that.
But you use contractions in that one, so there. So yeah, that's right, guys. We are going to discuss on Star Wars weekend. We are discussing
Trek, baby. We pedal Trek.
The space fandom that was here before Star Wars.
Actually, well, Battlestar Galactica technically was before all that, and really,
No. Star Wars started
Battlestar Galactica, but we had like other space opera that came really before all that. So, but you're right.
Well, I wouldn't put opera to the name of Star Trek, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, we can argue that.
We are counting down. We are counting down our top Star Trek captains.
Now, this list is not a accurate list. Go back. I don't want people to see. Y'all saw this, but I want to preface this. This list is not an easy list because Dave, I love him. I love you, bro. But this mother, it's still, no, is it early? What time is it? All right, this motherfucker right here.
It's 11.
It's 11. That motherfucker right here comes and tries to drop. He throws like all these obstacles in my thought path, right? This is how you could tell somebody with here. I love Dave. Dave's neurodivergent. I am not. I have neurodivergence in my home, so I deal with this on the daily between the love of my brother and the love of my wife and my oldest daughter. But what's interesting is I'm here like, okay, we're going to talk about captains. He starts saying, well, which captains can we talk about? Movie, TV, and I'm like, oh, like, like
because
there's a lot of them.
Let's be honest. There are some people in the Star Trek universe who are fans of just the original, like the original series, which is TOS, TNG, basically the Prime Television universe, right? That also goes canon with, all the Star Trek movies up until Nemesis,
Voyager,
Nemesis. So yes, and then you have the J.J. Abrams rebooted universe, so which is known as the Kelvin timeline. And then, of course, you have Discovery and everything that has come after that. And I mean, there's been some amazing shows, Lower Decks, which borrows from a lot of all the different multiverse of Trek.
To both. It is canon to both times.
Yes.
It's aggravating for me as a fan. But
I freaking love it.
And this and actually, if y'all know, he's up here, Captain Pike of Strange New Worlds. Strange New Worlds is actually canon to Kelvin and the regular, what I'll call the sacred timeline to honor Marvel. It's canon to the actual TOS universe as well. So, and we'll kind of go into that a little bit in this show because I think some of the choices are interesting, especially we left out Picard, the show Picard, and we left out Discovery. Really kind of messed up a lot of that. It made Kelvin universe canon. That's what a lot of fans argue, and we will eventually do a show probably just about that. It's on the list of ideas of my 52 ideas for the year. That is on there to discuss that at some point for us to talk about the
if you will, his new 52.
Yes, either the Kelvin or the original timeline, which Picard kind of is tied to both, and it's weird. But let's actually get into our picks, and here's where
he calls me neurodivergent, and
no,
he's
I was
all
trying
over the
to.
place.
No, it's because I'm reining myself in. So let's go to our first set of picks, and we'll go into a little bit about why.
Now, just so you guys know, we are going to have 3 official picks and 1 honorable mention each. Okay.
And
so
then
here we go.
You needed to have an honorable mention on this list.
Make it so, number 1.
All right. Go first, and I drink some water.
Now, those who don't know that this is Scott Bakula. Yes, he was a Star Trek captain. In fact, in canon, he was the first Starship Enterprise captain of the NX-01, which predates Kirk, which predates Pike. He captained the very first Warp 5 starship for Starfleet before there was a Federation. Him and his crew boldly went where no one went before, and he is my number 3 pick.
Look what he said. Look, you can't acknowledge him.
I heard Archer. ho, Joseph. He's watching Back to the Future. Joseph, we're gonna break the fourth wall right now. I just 3D printed this week. It is a Mr. Fusion dice tower. So since you're watching Back to the Future, I have to throw this out there. But Archer. I heard Archer. Yes, Captain Jonathan Archer, not to be confused with his ancestor Stephen Archer from the 21st century, who apparently was a very popular YouTuber. Who knew? What if that was canon?
That's what we need. Make it so, number 1.
But Archer was, I'm a big Scott Bakula fan. So to see him do this, and this was before he did NCIS New Orleans. He bounced around, did a couple movies, and then he finally, after the TV show Chuck, he finally landed on the UPN network. Yes, the Star Trek Enterprise was on the the UPN network. It was sadly a victim of poor network management, studios getting involved, but it still is a favorite of mine. This is something I can binge on the regular.
Agreed.
This was before there was a Prime Directive, before we had red alerts. I mean, there's so much in here that kind of sets things up. Yes, the technology does look a little bit more flashier than the original series, and there's even an episode that deals with that. But this was a great crew. We had the Vulcans were kind of like the bullies, were kind of like the teachers, if you will, who were like, "Hey, you're not ready to do this. You're humans. You're over emotional. You're this. You're that." They
You're
were
the
kind
Oxford of the universe. Yeah.
they were trying to hold back humanity. And Archer, his father was the one who designed the first Warp 5 engine and the Enterprise NX-01. On a mission, it goes out there, and during that time, they dealt with the Klingons. They dealt with a dastardly race that was motivated by other parties. As think of They even mirrored 9/11. Let's be honest. That's with this whole Zindi war. That kind of mirrored it, an attack on Earth that killed millions. That was very similar to like 9/11. In fact, it was around the time of 9/11 when that happened. But they
Very
dealt
much,
with
yeah.
a lot of tones. But Archer was someone who he was a man of the people. He treated his crew like they were family. There wasn't anything he wouldn't do for any of his crew, which to me I think was always a cornerstone for a Star Trek captain. Yes, you have to have that separation, right? You have to have that separation because you can't necessarily fraternize. You know, you have to have a wall because what if like your best friend you send him on a mission that's going to kill them? But he walked that line, and he let's be honest, he did a lot in the short time that Star Trek Enterprise was on the air. I think what was it, 4 or 5 seasons? I think it was. Um,
4.
yeah, I mean, he dealt with the augments, which was obviously in relation to think of Khan. We had a lot of familiar faces on here. Brent Spiner playing a ancestor of Dr. Noonien Soon, who is the person, the brainchild behind the augments. We had the Klingons, we had the Andorians, and eventually by the end of the series, we had the birth of the Federation. Mostly to do because of Archer. Archer pushing the envelope, Archer pushing his own limits, going beyond belief and sometimes taking faith when presented with time travel in a time war. I mean, it dealt with a lot of there was some lightheartedness to it, and I think it is still he's still one of my favorite captains. He's not my top favorite captain, but he is one of my top 3 favorite captains. And plus, I love the look of the costume, the uniform.
It looks like a Ghostbusters uniform. That's why he loves it. Folks.
No, no, I mean it rocks. It was something very different than any of the other uniforms that we kind of had.
True.
But also I can't. I mean, Archer's always going to be he's always going to be one of my favorite captains because he was the one that started with the NX-01. It was one of the smallest starships that we dealt with within Star Trek.
Wait, no, you are wrong. That song, I was actually just singing that song in my head. It's been
What?
a long time getting
Oh,
from there to here.
whoa. Archer, do you want to fight? I will
Because,
fight you to
come on,
this
wait.
day.
No. He said, but my time is finally
By
here.
Russell Watson. The song is by an artist and musician by the name of Russell Watson. My heart, I mean,
I can see my dreams come alive at night. I can touch
there
the
is some rock
sky.
versions of that song out there. Listen, I dug that song. So
Man,
Archer, I will fight
nothing's
you.
going to hold me back. No, you're not going to make me cry because I got faith of the heart. No one's going to bend or break me. Come on, man. That song was fire. That thing gets
Archer,
me hype.
Archer, are we gonna have to fight this this June? I mean,
Oh, no, we're good. Yo, you're
I'll,
going to have to give him you're going to put him in a headlock for me in New York. Don't make me come up to New York in June. I will bring that ass up there, boy. Tell me that song was not fire. Hot
I
fire.
mean, do I have to deliver an RKO? I will.
You best. You best. I love that song. See, exactly. that show that I love this choice because that's so. Oh, you hear voices that. See, I was gonna say, I did too.
My wife, who
It,
is a
it,
Trek expert, says it grows on you. It does. It
my
was very
wife,
different because we never had a theme song for a Star Trek show that had vocals. So
exactly.
it was very experimental. It threw people off, but also this was a Star Trek show that was very unlike any others
It was the
because it
first.
was a prequel.
But come
Dre,
on,
I'll
think
give you an RKO if you hurt my boy.
about.
Joseph, I'm going to be the one to have to deliver that. So,
Yeah, I
you're going
love.
to have to come
Listen,
at me.
wait, she's trying to think of other songs to say what's worse than what's the worst one. I mean, look, I okay. My wife is not is a TV fan like us. Like grew up when we were watching TV, and she doesn't watch a lot of these shows that we watched. She watched Smallville, and if you're gonna tell me somebody save
Come on,
me,
that was
if
good.
you're telling me no, that song drove me nuts. Every time I heard it, if I was on DVDs, I'd pass that shit. I did not like that song. But if you're gonna tell me that this Trek song, which I have listened to, it's on my phone. I don't know. While Dave is talking,
I have the CD.
it hits a spot. And it's ironic if anybody's not religious, it is a Christian rock group that actually did sing the song. So if you guys didn't know that much, because
Yeah, buddy.
it's a Christian rock group that sang it, and I'm not really super religious, but I will say this: that song doesn't get me hyped for religion. It gets me hyped. Like I'm like, man, no one's gonna bet. Come on, like look, I'm all gas, no breaks with it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna keep it like that, bro. You gonna
I mean,
mm.
it it
Sorry,
it
sorry.
was
I
a
just love
perfect
that song.
song for Enterprise because the Vulcans were trying to hold the humans back. And Archer and his crew, they were not going to let them hold them down. Their hearts, they put their hearts into the ship. They put their
Actually,
hearts into everything they did.
T'Pol
And
could hold me down all day.
with or without the grip. No, I'm saying, no, I'm saying, no, I'm saying.
Hey, listen, she can give me that vocal
Hey,
death grip all day. You know what I mean?
listen, nothing but respect for Trip because
Oh,
if
he'll
you
tap
know,
that
you
ass.
know.
No, I'm gonna say it. He'd tap that ass all day, every day. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. That show was fire. I didn't love that they put the Borg in it though. That's the only gripe I have with that
Yeah.
show. Because the Borg were something that were now I granted, I do know they were trying to pay an homage to First Contact because we had to do
Because Zephyr Cochrane
something
co-built the ship with, or co-built the engine with Jonathan Archer's father. So there
exactly.
was
So
that.
So you had to have the idea that the Borg were there. Now, the level of threat that they became, kind of felt like, and the fact that yes, I did. I
Yes.
both of us, Dave and I, both talked about that.
Yep.
That's a show where we actually, it's the plan is to do that show probably when Strange New Worlds comes back on this fall, because we are getting season 2 finally. Thank you, God. And I've been waiting for this. I need that show back.
You mean
And
season 3? We have season 2.
oh, season 3. Sorry, season 3. Because we've been itching for that. And then we get
And he calls himself a tricky.
shut the
I
fuck
know.
up.
Motherfucker place, motherfucker place.
Man, yeah, but I didn't again, we are gonna do a video, probably a series
Yep.
that's gonna kind of cover how those
And of
connections.
course, there's the Star Trek Academy, which is set in the Discovery future, which is going to feature some familiar faces from Discovery and from Voyager. Hint, hint, wink, wink. I'm
and
looking forward to that.
and we're gonna get Becky Lynch, the last kicker, the man,
Yeah.
she's actually gonna be on the show in a prominent role from what I've heard. So because she
And
said she's not doing part-time WWE, so she's done filming.
and I'm going to say this: Dre's pick of Captain, or
I
should I
don't
say
know.
now Admiral Janeway.
Yes, which
I I I can't disagree
you
because
can't, and here I will say the reasons why you cannot disagree with her. The fact that this girl transcended as the first iconic, first true captain to get her own ship and go on her what was supposed to be a test
But
mission, which
her
we all
her
know it
her
wasn't.
show, yes, because they
It
went
was
on the mission
her
for the
show.
Maquis.
Exactly.
Sorry.
So you have to realize that she was one of those characters at the time. I I'd seen Kate Mulgrew in like 80s and 90s movies where she had more of a comedy role. I think
Mrs. Columbo.
exactly.
Yep.
She's not unattractive. Like I found her attractive. But I think we needed somebody in this role that
Oh,
was going to be not just a sex appeal because we get her later on. We get her later on.
uh-huh.
Thank you. I'm not. I already know where Days Mine went. I'm
What?
gonna hone you back in. So when we got Janeway was that captain we needed, especially coming after the level of very serious, very political, and very religiously driven
Star Trek.
DS9. DS9 was very heavy. There was I'm very biased with DS9 because I love seasons 3 to 5. 6, 7, I don't like at all. I don't like. The rest of the show, I could literally stop watching the show at
Was
season
it the
5.
Dominion War that kind of rubbed you the wrong way?
No, the Dominion War was perfect. I love the Dominion War. That's the reason I love the show. That's the seasons that was all about Worf coming onto the show, the creation of the Defiant, the Dominion War, which actually
Yep.
was canon to and is made mention in every Star Trek show after, which I love. Even Discovery made mention of it from their records. So
Star Trek Online. I mean,
Star Trek
it's
Online's
everywhere.
covered it.
Yep.
And they even talked about it in Star Trek Discovery, the kids show.
Yep.
So it's funny to think about people who call new stuff woke, but like Voyager. Yeah, that would have been considered woke for the time, especially we never got an actual Starfleet captain that was female. You had tons of lieutenant commanders.
You,
And the one
you had like one-off captains because like the captain of the Enterprise C,
see
who
Dave
from
goes red.
Next Generation.
Yes,
Geordie's
I know.
mother
I know.
was the captain,
I
but we had
know.
those one-offs. But yeah,
But
this
it
is the
was
first time we get like a mainstream
you
reoccurring
get
captain.
and you get her in a role that I wanted somebody to be in. A captain, and it's very it was more of the way TOS was. They boldly went where no one went before, and they were locked away from Starfleet. You
Yep.
were 80,000 light years from home. If they traveled at warp 9.9, they couldn't maintain that forever. It would take them 88 years to get home.
Yep.
I was like, man, imagine you're stuck on the other side of the damn galaxy and you can't get home. And you're stuck with the crew of people you were hunting and now have to work together. I mean, the intricacies of what the show brought and the fact that there was not a lot of, and like you said, Archer, for me, representation was everything. Bolana Torres, a Hispanic woman playing a half Klingon, the Chakotay, a Native American,
Young Harry Kim,
an Asian that we hadn't seen since we have not seen an Asian take the helm since TOS. It was a lot. There was a lot of things that went on. It did talk about, it broached the ideas of family bonds, broached the ideas of breaking up in relationships. Hey, Kenzo. The show really, for me, was a hit. And then you brought in the sex symbol in 7 of 9. Everybody loved her. I still do. She's gorgeous. I mean, she changed the dynamic for what we were looking at when we saw the Borg. It actually made the Borg more, dare I say, human in a sense, because you understood what they were doing, why they were studying different races, what the genetic reasons why they were doing it. It made the Borg a bigger threat to the Star Trek universe because obviously we see it more in Picard, and you've seen it. The only show that we never saw them actually be a threat in was Discovery because it was too far into the future, and they actually had said the Borg were pretty much all but wiped out at that point because of the species. Oh God, what was it from Liquid Space? Pretty much
8747 something.
Like it was 8472. 8472, I think it was. That the
from
liquid space,
fluidic
fluid
space. Yes.
the fluidic space aliens actually have a civil war against the Borg at some point because they're the only race that could never be assimilated. I mean, that's how deep this show took me. Like, I never got. I mean, The Next Generation by far is my favorite Trek. It's my kid Trek. It's what I grew up with. Like, people older than us grew up with TOS, and a lot of
Species
people
8472.
8472. I knew it was something.
We were close.
We were close. Good job, thank you, brother. But I loved that she took the helm. There was also something that a lot of people complained about, the love interest between her and Chakotay. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to make it very, very clear. I look at that relationship like me and my sister. My best friend Nicole, she's not my blood sister. She's like
No.
Dave. They're not related to me. But there's a love that they have as a respect, that they care about each other. Chakotay never was in love with her because it's been expressly known that he dated and on the show dated 7 of 9.
Yeah.
So, hey, David's life.
And to your point, I mean, there was that one episode where it was thought that they were going to be stranded on this one planet for like ever. And the thing was, they wrote it so she was more interested in the native little monkey, the little chimpanzee that was hanging around their their sheltered house that they had. But I mean, that's the thing. Catherine Janeway. Now, Kate Mulgrew did a fantastic friggin' job because honestly, a lot of people don't know she was not the original actress. They had a French actress who was not used to the rigors of television. She was used to more movie productions that you do only for so many months. She walked away. They grabbed Kate Mulgrew, and let's be honest, Catherine Janeway, she had this Catherine Hepburn vibe. The way she talked, her mannerisms, and let's be honest, she was definitely she knew. And let's be honest, you bring on another crew, an enemy crew, and you merge them with your own. To even think of doing that, you have so many obstacles that you're going to have to worry about. She had to play peacemaker. She had to try and build bonds with people. And let's be honest, she became pretty damn close with everyone. For the most part, she was more close to the Maquis crew and other alien life that joined the Voyager crew than she did with the original crew she started with. Because let's be honest, Tuvok was her good longtime friend who was her tactical officer. Aside from him, Harry Kim, and let's be honest, Tom Paris was not an officer. He was just a former Maquis that she was going to use, but winds up becoming the pilot and kind of her go-to, guy for many missions. But for the most part, she got really close with B'Elanna Torres.
Yeah, but
Our, our,
Paris was like that built-in bridge to
he was
connect the
he was kind of
crews.
the bad boy, and he was kind of like he played loose and fancy free a lot. But let's be honest, her and Chakotay, like you said, they were like family. Okay. And we see this beyond Star Trek Voyager. We see it in Star Trek Prodigy. If you haven't watched it, yes, it is an animated Star Trek, and it was done by Nickelodeon. It's on Netflix, but it's a damn good watch. So if you're a Trek fan, you should definitely check it out. And it adds more layers to Catherine Janeway.
And
But
I will say this though, for anybody that's a Trek fan and does not know about the ECH, the EMH, which is the emergency medical hologram, which we have as the character that becomes a sentient hologram, and he ended up having the command protocol, which he gets later on in
ECH.
Voyager, and the ECH, which is amazing. That's something Prodigy actually, Janeway, when she returned,
adapts and builds on.
and they built it, and it's amazing. And I'm not going to tell you anything more. Just when you watch Prodigy, you'll understand, because Prodigy takes place in a universe where Voyager has returned. Because if you see the end of Voyager, Voyager actually uses the Borg conduit system, and they come back to Earth. And it only took them, I think, the transwarp conduit system. And they get back to Earth with only being gone, I think, 6-7 years, like the amount of time the show was. Yeah. But I think these picks are just true to these are two good captains. I think Archer being, when I saw the picks, I was like, damn, these are good. These are fire. I can't talk shit about this because I love Archer and I loved Hoshi's character. Mirror versus Archer.
Hoshi's got, yeah.
Sato
And
is
Mirror
Mirror
Universe.
versus Hoshi all day, every day. It's like DePaul. DePaul.
Hey now.
I'm gonna leave that
Hello,
alone.
ladies.
But these are our third
Oh.
picks. Let's move on. Now, I said it before, and I'll say it again. I absolutely love Anson Mount. I am a huge, huge fan of Pikes. Like I said, my first XO6 that's behind me here is of him. And what a
That
great
Dre
figure he is.
needs a proper captain's chair for him, because if anybody's out there watching who's
Mhm.
really good with, like, crafting, Kenzo, if you happen to have a line on
I have
a
a
nice
Father's Day. Listen, Father's Day, my
Discovery,
birthday.
Discovery era, Strange New Worlds-esque type chair,
Yeah, because I'm not willing to pay the
send Dre a
$300.
line.
Yes, because I'm not willing to pay $300 because that's how much they're charging for the chair. It just lights up. No sound effects. It just lights up. But I digress. I loved Pike's character in the Abramverse because Pike, played by another great actor as well. You know,
Who
Pike was
also
that.
voiced Batman a couple times.
Yes, Pike is what Pike was integral to the growth of what we now know as Kirk. Right? Abrams' universe set us up to understand that Pike recruits him. Pike takes him under his wing. He gets the Enterprise. We also know that during the second Star Abrams movie, we get the death of Pike, and that kind of rolls into a major another father figure dying for Kirk, and it sets up a lot of things. Now, when you watch Strange New Worlds, which I think by far right now, my
Best
favorite
Trek
Star
in
Trek
years.
show, my favorite Trek show is The Next Generation. This is on that level. I think the show represents so many great things from a diverse cast, from a captain that is troubled, much like Picard was when he becomes Locutus of Borg. You get a captain that knows the future. He knows
His
it's something.
future.
I'm gonna put it this way. I was rereading things because obviously when I was coming up with this list, I had to think about it. I thought about this. What would you do if somebody came to you and said, "You know your future. You know the date, the day, and the time you die that you're going to be expired." What would you do? And you were responsible for saving lives. How would you live your life to get there? And that when you become what Marvel calls it, like those pivotal points in time, those sacred points, you cannot you're like a singular point that you cannot change, because if you do, everything falls apart and the universe basically falls apart. That is the weight of Atlas that Pike carries. And I think his character does it with a grace and with this authenticity that I needed from a captain, much like Picard. Picard was awesome before he became Locutus. Best of both worlds,
Yeah.
best Star Trek episode ever. Fight me on it. Anybody could kiss my ass. It's the best Star Trek episode ever made.
I mean, there are theaters that still play that as one movie together.
Because it's the best of both worlds, part 1 and part 2. You need to watch it, folks. If you've never have, best reasoning to ever understand why the Borg become a threat to Voyager, why they were even thought of to be talked about in Enterprise, why Discovery never sees them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, you have to realize it transcended Trek.
Why Picard developed so much hatred towards them,
And
more so.
even psychological
Contact.
PTSD that he suffers in his own show, the 3 seasons of Picard you watch, all kind of centers around this idea. So Pike gives me this. I know he's got a limited time, but I like where they're taking it. I love his interpair relationship that he has with his crew. I love the fact that he has a genetically altered human, because, as we know, Bashir was a genetically altered human, but he had to keep it under wraps. He has a genetically altered human on his staff, who is Rebecca Romaine.
Yeah.
So let's just throw the cast has got some heavy hitters. You would then have a Singh a
Yeah.
Singh on the crew, and we all know
You have
that,
a relative of Khan on the crew of the Enterprise, and she's security,
and she is a
but she is
badass, and
badass.
she's
Oh,
fine as hell too. That British accent of hers, oh, makes me want to just, as my friends always laugh, I say, I want to drink her bath water because damn, she's sexy. I'm gonna say it just like that. 'Cause, ooh, but
she she was on Doctor Who once. Just
I
saying.
know, bro, I did my deep
And
dives. I
and
know, I
and
know.
and I'm waiting for when her character returns because it's a whole future thing, but
I,
that's a
I
whole
have
other story.
I have her magic card. Let's put the magic together and get a card for her. I have that card. So I digress. But this is, I mean, Pike is just a great character. The show is amazing. If you have not watched Strange New Worlds, I strongly suggest. I have friends that are not Trek fans that have hated Star Trek for years. They
They
jumped
watched
in on
it.
season one and they
Yep.
were hooked. They were like, I don't need to watch any other Trek because I could watch this one. And then some people watch the Lower Decks because obviously Lower Decks is a fantastic. Sadly, it's done.
Which
It
featured
ended.
the
It
voice
ended
of
well.
Rebecca's husband, Jerry O'Connell.
Yep.
It's a whole family of Trekkies.
So I'm just saying, if you guys are interested, it's worth it. I know Paramount Plus is bringing it back. I think they said late summer, early October. So
Yes.
let's keep our fingers crossed for season 3.
But I have to agree with Dre. I'm surprised this wasn't number one, knowing Dre. Okay, I was surprised,
It
but
was gonna be, but you saw my number
and
one, so
and
you know
I'm going
why.
to throw a hot take out there. He's the best actor to ever play Pike.
I'm not gonna disagree.
Okay,
I'm not gonna. I think
um,
I don't
don't
like the
don't
Kirk on the
don't
show
don't
personally.
don't get me wrong. Of course, the OG, which was part of the original pilot of Star Trek, which did not do well, and then they recast it, and then they kind of s- circled back using that original footage for the Cage, which is a great Star Trek the original series episode. But Anson Mount, who some people might know him as Black Bolt in Humans.
No, we know him
Uh,
as Black Bolt from Multiverse of Madness, not the crappy show in Humans.
hey, calm down, calm down.
Oh, I have a hot take on that all day,
Okay,
every day.
but he's been in a lot of great shows. But the way that he plays Pike, Pike is a captain who he will make brunch for his officers. Like he's got. Let's be honest. One thing that kind of rubs some people the wrong way is like how high tech the Enterprise looks, and this is supposed to be the original series. His freaking quarters. Tell me his quarters are not the
It's a
most bomb ass quarters
it's a
of
log
all
cabin.
time.
Could you
Like
take a log cabin and put
he's
it
got a
in
friggin'
space?
fireplace. He's got this like almost like a 1970s 60s aesthetic kind of like
He's got
standalone fireplace.
so remember those floating chairs that they had in the 70s that were really popular in your living room. You'd have like the thing bolted to the ceiling and it looked like it was just hovering there. He has like 2 of those in his living room. It's hilarious because exactly that, like the aesthetic
It
of what
shows
would
that
be old is
60s
there.
70s kind of vibe, and it kills it.
Even the kitchen, the open
Yeah,
design kitchen that he's
he
cooking with, it's hilarious.
trying to see if I can actually pull up an image of his quarters so you guys can actually see.
Yeah, I'll do that. Get on Kirk because I know Kirk could. We
But no,
could argue with Kirk.
I want to add some extra to what you said about Pike. I mean, Pike is, yes, he is someone who knows his future. The very first, I mean, I'd say about a quarter, if not a third of the first season, he is dealing with this when he's gripping to make his regular decisions, and he's even faced with his alternate future self, if you will. And I mean, this is a man who knows what his future is going to be. He's already looked and come across people who will be a part of that ultimate future. I mean, he like Dre says, he's wearing the weight of the world on his shoulders. But this is a captain unlike any other captain we've had in Star Trek. I will say that. He is unlike anything we've ever had in Star Trek. I mean, he is a friend. He is funny. He is loose. He's probably one of the most relaxed captains we've ever had. He has fun and he enjoys being a captain. I mean, this is a guy who, like, we meet him in season 2 of Discovery, and he rolls with the punches like there's no tomorrow. I mean, this Anson Mount kills it. he's probably going to be known as one of the best captains, one of the best
He's this
actors in Star
generation's
Trek.
Picard. He's this
Yes,
generation's
he
Picard.
is definitely, and I mean he's just likable. The way that he isn't just someone who's reading lines. You know, he's not a Shakespearean actor like Patrick Stewart. I mean he's there. He is the man when it comes to things. Now I picked I picked James T. Kirk, but I picked him from Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock.
Hey, Cobb.
What was it?
I said, hey, Cobb.
Hey, Kyle, what's up? Um, I chose him because this is him as a he wasn't a captain at the time. Technically, his rank was admiral, but he's still captaining a starship. I mean, this is when you're a Star Trek captain, when you're a Starfleet, you have rules you have to abide by, and this is Kirk, who's always been for the most part about the rules. Occasionally, he bends the rules or reprograms a certain simulator, Kobayashi Maru. So he can bend and he can bend the rules without necessarily breaking them per se. You know, he's the one who he's never truly faced a no-win scenario up until he loses Spock. And this is him finding out that Spock, his body is out there, and somehow apparently they find out that his body and his mind, which is locked in McCoy, can be rejoined. And he knows what he has to do. He has to risk his future. He has to risk everything that he's built because his whole life was about becoming the youngest captain in Starfleet ever, right?
Mhm.
And he's ready to throw it all away for his best friend, for his brother, because his crew is his family. And I think that's the cornerstone of a good captain when it comes to Star Trek is yeah, there are rules, there's the prime directive, there's this, there's that, but also you have to honor those who are around you. And for me, Kirk breaking the rules, stealing a battle damaged Enterprise, him and his crew, you know, this thing is like being held together by, you know, Star Trek duct tape, let's be honest.
And
And they
Paris.
take it, I mean, he risks everything. He loses his son in the process. I mean, I mean, talking about like you talking about Anson Mount, one of the best captains ever. Captain Kirk. I'm not necessarily a fan of Shatner, but Captain Kirk is someone who he will go, you know, he'll go to the mattresses for his crew. He'll do whatever he can to save them because it's the right thing to do. And to me, that's why I chose him as number 2 because I mean, let's be honest. Kirk from the original series to the movies, yeah, he was a womanizer. Let's be honest.
Mhm.
He hooked up with anyone and anything, including a shapeshifter in the undiscovered country, but we won't go there. But I mean, he was charismatic. He was, you know, he had fun at times, you know, but he also knew that he knew what was at stake, and he was willing to do anything and everything to save the day. I mean, hell, he eventually goes back in time to save the universe. I mean, this is a captain that, you know, well, we got nothing left to lose. And let's do whatever we can. Er, The whole universe is given up and he still goes. He goes boldly where no one's gone before, but he's only as strong as his crew, but his crew are his family. Spock is his brother, just like Dre is my brother. We're not
Mhm.
blood,
But we family.
but we would do anything for one another. And that's the thing. Kirk, you know, he's an admiral. He has all this power, but what he does, he says, "Screw it," and he says, I have to save my friend. I have to do whatever I can, even if it's not possible. I have to try." And that's the thing. Never giving up and at least putting the effort, even if you know the odds are against you, going and taking that chance. And that's the thing. Like, I mean, Dre picked Kirk's predecessor, you know, and that's the thing. I mean, it's these are two amazing captains. And I mean, let's be honest, everyone knew Kirk. We knew Kirk as, you know, He was the guy that fought the Gorn on the planet. This is the guy who faced just about anything. He's lost so many. He lost his brother George. He's
George, you not, there was no try.
there you go. But I mean, for me, that's why I kind of I went with Kirk because I mean he's Kirk. He has the witty comebacks. He has some of the best lines. I said this line to Dre a couple days ago. Khan, I'm laughing at the superior intellect. I mean, he has some of the best lines and some of the best villains. I mean, hell, in this movie where I grabbed the image from, he's fighting Christopher friggin' Lloyd, Doc Brown, as a Klingon, winds up killing him because his men killed killed his son, and what does he wind up doing? They wind up stealing the Klingon ship, and in the next movie they used to go back in time. You gotta love it. But Kirk is always going to be one of the top captains ever. Dre. I think Dre stepped away. So what do you guys think about our number 2 picks? Captain Pike and Captain Kirk. What do you guys think? Yeah. As David's life, if you have not seen Star Trek 3, first you have to watch Star Trek 2 and then watch Star Trek 3. You watch those two. Christopher Lloyd is the captain of a bird of prey, a Klingon bird of prey that is going to the planet Genesis. And literally, him and Kirk have a knockout drag out while the planet is erupting around them. So yeah, he does face of all people, there's a lot of great actors who've had cameos or small, kind of middle parts in different movies. I mean, hell, in Star Trek The Undiscovered Country, we have Christian Slater in a Blink and You'll Miss It cameo as an officer on a Sulu ship.
He was the lieutenant commander.
Yep. So, Trey, are you ready for our next?
Now, these are the honorable mentions. So these are obviously, you guys, I want to preface these. These are people that didn't get their flowers till they left the show. Wow. Cobb.
Wow.
Cobb.
Geez. I mean, I'll be honest. There are people out there who they feel strong about one fandom over another, and they might have chose that fandom over the other. So I mean, let's not judge.
So I'm not going to judge because I just find it interesting because this is an IP, much like when people tell me they've never seen Star Wars. I kind of balk at that because I'm like, Star Wars has been around for damn near 50 years.
What kind of a David has not watched Star Trek?
Let me finish my statement.
I'm just saying. I'm going to judge David's life.
So when you have a fandom that's been around for so long, I find it very hard to have not at least crossed its path before 2025. I'm not saying that you were necessarily into it. It's something that I've always known people, like I've known
Maybe
people.
It was on TV, you came across it.
Like you saw an episode or you saw somebody that you knew was an actor that went and did a movie. Like to me, there's, it. No, and that's the thing. I think that's one of the ideas. Actually, sidebar for a second.
I mean,
that's one of the ideas I've actually had to do a show, which is bring guests on to talk about things that they've never seen because
expose you to them.
It boggles. No, it would be that because it boggles my mind. Like I'll give you a perfect example of this before we get to the honorable mentions. My brother-in-law, love him to death. He's younger than me. He never has watched the Marvel movies at all. I was like, wow. Like there have been Marvel movies since Marvel movies, like Blade and Fantastic Four. He never even saw Deadpool and Wolverine. He hasn't seen any of those. Doesn't have an interest in it. He's just not that type of guy. So I was like, okay, we get him on Marvel Rivals. He is now fully entrenched into the MCU. So much so that the last month he has been spending time actually, like actually doing this, like actually going through watching the shows, asking me like, "Hey, Drake, what's the order I should watch this stuff in? Is this the right order?" I just gave him the TV order to watch stuff. So he's now kind of getting into it. So I thought that was kind of cool. So I'm not gonna give you crap for. I mean, I could give you crap for not watching Breaking Bad because Breaking Bad. Wait. Go back to David's life. All right, sometimes that happens. Maybe never got the time to see a Marvel movie. That's I have to pause
Hey,
myself on that because they're on free TV. They're on Disney Plus. They're every there. It's if you now granted I don't know your personal life, so I'm not trying to pick. It's again it surprises me because my brother-in-law told me this recently. I said you're not making the time. He's like because I'm interested. I think once somebody finds an interest in something, it's like I'll here. I'm not that big into Motu. I'm not. We're not talking toys, but I'm going to use because I know Cobb very well. Cobb is huge and very well known for his Motu content. I respect that. I watch the cartoons. I don't know them nearly to the level of detail that he does. But I guarantee you, if you guys were watch his content and see the stuff, you would respect the level of knowledge he brings to the table. Because him and Brick are doing that show about the deep dives into the Masterverse. So you guys should be checking that content out on his channel. Subscribe to Cobweb Collector. See how I did that? I flipped it on you?
and
Because
acknowledge him.
I will
What?
acknowledge you. But I want to say, for me, it's a surprise that people don't really watch this stuff, especially with as wide and as popularized as pop culture has, um, as it is now. So let's get into our honorable mentions, and I want to, like I said, I want to kick it off with
Whoa.
this.
There we go.
So obviously, my pick comes later in the Star Trek series, way later, as in 2 years ago later. Picard season 1 was by far one of my favorite shows, absolute favorite shows of 2023, and knowing that we got to see Jerry Ryan reprise her role as Seven of Nine, and kind of find out a little bit more history about her. She's what a ranger, like these kind of independent, like contractor, like soldiers for hire that work for the Federation but don't really work for the Federation. It's kind of like an interesting dichotomy she has. She has a love-hate relationship with the Federation for many reasons. But we never really know why she has that love-hate relationship with it. Like she was never
Fenris Rangers.
Yeah, the Fenris Rangers, which obviously
They're more like employed by the planets, but not by the Federation.
exactly.
Oh.
And that's why I call them independent contractors, sort of like private military. And one thing I loved about her character was we knew in Seven of Nine, on her time on Voyager, as she kind of, it's gonna sound really bad saying it like this, but she became more human as you watched her on the show. She actually took to the role of leadership, and Janeway was grooming her like a daughter. Like it'd be like me telling Rory to love
Definitely,
Spider-Man,
100%.
and you could see that relationship. And Jerry Ryan talks about it, or Seven of Nine mentions that several times throughout the Picard show, throughout the movie stints that she's had in there was the one Star Trek movie she was in that was a fan-made film. But it's like you see her growth, and then you see her as the Fenris Ranger, and I'm like, oh man, like I wish they did more with her. And what did they do? You make her a main cast member for Picard seasons 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
Perfect way to give me, the fan that have been a fan of Jerry Ryan's for years, to give her the role she needed, which is the role of captain. But she was not looked at as captain because of her Borg status. That was one thing I absolutely loved. There was a prejudice, and I'm not saying I love prejudice, so do not clip that and say, oh, Dre loves being prejudiced, because I don't. I'm saying it for showing that the Federation, 20 plus years after, almost I think 30 years.
30 years.
It was 30 years, I think, to the date of that show. that they still had a hatred for the Borg and what the Borg were doing. And even so much so, the Borg actually, it's like the Borg are even kind of faintly mentioned in season two. The enemy, it's like I said, again, it's a great show to watch, Picard, but her
Yeah.
getting her flowers to become a captain of her own ship and then getting, well, I don't want to spoil that, getting a major player for a show that we will never get to see, which is
Maybe we'll
it,
see.
it, it,
They're
it,
still trying. They're trying. Thank
we
God.
can't say anything. Let's
Yeah.
just put it this way: there's if you watch Picard season three, you
Yeah.
will understand why Dave and I are like foaming at the mouth because it was a backdoor pilot for this show
And
that
it
they
was a
want to
chef's
do.
kiss. It
Oh,
was just
it's
oh,
perfect.
it set things because married Terry Metalis, who became the showrunner for season I want to say seasons 2 and 3 or possibly just 3. This is the guy who's behind 12 Monkeys. This is a guy who he is amazing when it comes to TV shows. And he brought the friggin' thunder. He was world building while doing this season. But yeah, 7 of 9, I mean, Annika Hansen, her natural given name. I mean, a lot, her captain on that season, he has hatred because he was at Wolf 359, of course. But like, everyone refers to her as, Commander Hansen, with the exception of Jordy's daughter, who calls her, Commander Seven. So I mean, like, there is some, like, a lot of the crew, they don't look at her as a Borg, but people do see that physical augmentation and they just associate it with it. But if you watch Star Trek Voyager, this is a very different. This is more, like Dre said, more emotional. Because she's had 30 years to kind of reclaim her humanity, her emotions, and find who she is. And she is a badass captain. She is a friggin' force to be reckoned with. And there's a line that I will borrow that you guys won't have any idea unless you watch the series. Oh, she will break rules, but then again, maybe these rules were already broken to begin with. One of the best friggin' lines, and it's spoken by someone who actually is, uh, kind of an antagonist for her.
It is the
Yeah.
antagonist when you think about it
So
because
yeah,
she's a great character. She's a fantastic cast, and it's just
yeah.
ironic that Dave and I picked characters because he was going to be my other pick if I didn't pick her. And it's
I
just
mean,
funny that we picked from the same show and the same season because I wouldn't have thought that we would have gotten that close of a pick. But these picks are ironic because his pick is literally from season two,
no,
introduced in season two. In season three, he
that
had more of a main
that
role.
image is
That's,
from season 3, though.
I know that's this, and so is mine.
So
It's the fine. Mine's from the
yeah.
finale. So
Now
go on with yours, and I'm gonna
I went with
I'm gonna put
Captain William T. Riker. Of course, he was the first. He was the first officer for the Enterprise D during the Next Generation. He learns everything about being a captain from Picard. Anything he learned from the previous captains were pretty much tossed away. But he is very unlike Picard. He is emotional. He has certain motivations, but Riker is, you know, Picard was his father, and he's like a son, vice versa. They're brothers, they're best friends. But Riker is someone who he is energetic. He is fun at times, but also he can get down to business. You cross him or anyone he cares about, he's coming for you. He proved that in all of Star Trek, whether it was Star Trek: The Next Generation, Star Trek: First Contact. I mean, hell, even in Nemesis, lines were crossed by the Romulans, or should I say the Remen, uh, and he went full. He just threw caution to the wind. Riker is someone who he has his morals, he has his standards, he has his own Bible, so to speak. There you go, David. One would think I love Star Trek because it was created by Desilu Studio. It was. But Riker, he is someone who, I mean, he's someone that can joke around even in the most dire of situations, but he will also do whatever it takes to complete the mission. He will do whatever it takes to protect those he cares about. I don't want to give spoilers for Picard season 3 in case anyone is interested in seeing it and you have not seen it yet, but he does that in spades. And also in that series, I will say this, he does butt heads with Picard because of certain situations and plots that are constantly developing within the first 3 or 4 episodes. So I mean, there is a lot that he unpacks and deals with, but he's also a very confident captain. He is someone that will, there's a situation where the actual captain of the ship is disabled, he's injured, and he gives command to Riker, and Riker takes it immediately and he runs with it. You know, Riker is no stranger to stepping up when there's a bully. We saw that in season 1 of Picard. We see that in season 3 of Picard. I mean, he is a force to reckon with, but he also will face anyone down. There's one scene which I don't think is really a spoiler, but at one point he actually asks Picard to do something, and Picard actually says, "Hey, I think it's time you called me number one." So it was
That's
a
actually where that scene's from.
yeah,
Where you the image that he took, that's the scene.
yeah. But I mean,
I mean,
I was just saying, like, he is a captain who learned everything from Picard, but he made it his own. And I mean, Riker is, like I was saying, he's someone who, if you cross someone that he cares about, he will come for you. But he can also make jokes in the most dire of situations.
I will say this. I think Riker as a captain, people thought, and any true Trekker will say this. Um, if you are, if you watch Star Trek: The Next Generation (TNG), for those that know, there are 6 times they offer
Yeah.
Riker six. I'm not lying to you. 6 times they offer him the chair.
And he refused it.
2 times they offered it to him in Best of Both Worlds, the two-parter movie that they should be a movie. He said, "I'm not taking the chair because we're gonna get him back." He had
Exactly.
a moment in the show as a young lieutenant commander, and he wasn't. And I'm not saying young; he was younger than Picard, but mindset wise, he didn't want to take the chair because he said he could never fill the shoes of
Uh-huh.
Picard. It wasn't until the end of TNG that he eventually, most of them already had reached that rank where they were going to get sent off, and he then
Yeah, they're
becomes
mostly
our.
commanders, lieutenant commanders at the time. Yeah.
And they actually, at the time of Picard in this episode, he is Admiral Riker, and he actually loses his rank temporarily. If you watch the series, you'll understand why he loses his rank temporarily. I'm not going to go into the reasons why he loses his rank because that would kill the premise of the show.
Yeah.
But I think that the idea is sound. I love Riker.
And
He was my favorite
they,
character.
they did a series of paperback novels because those who've seen the Star Trek movies, at the end of Nemesis, because him and Troy are getting married, obviously they're going off to their own ship, the Titan, and this is a refit of the Titan that they're on. There was a series of books and even I think there might have been some comic books, some small arcs where they followed him
There
because
was, I don't know who I think it was, I don't know if it was, I want to say IDW, but I don't think it was
and
IDW.
also featured in Lower Decks
Yeah,
because
he was.
Boimler wound up serving under Riker on the Titan for a while until he got brought back to Cerritos.
Mhm.
But I mean, like, this is what we wanted to see for a long time. We wanted to see Riker as a captain, and he does not disappoint.
Hell no,
This
he
is
was
the
awesome.
and this is a defeated and broken Riker, but he
Can
still pulls through.
let me state this. I understood his character as as a character. Riker and Troy, the trauma that they go through in Picard season 3 and you get an idea of it in season 2.
And in season 1 a little bit.
And season 1 a little bit.
Yeah.
They don't. Season 2
They
delved
they
into it, and
they
3
don't really
delved into it.
well, season 2, he wasn't present for season 2, so it's season
He
3.
was like, was it? Oh, sorry, it was 3. You're correct. You're correct. Season 3 delves into it deeply, and when I'm
They
saying
rip open the Band-Aid,
you understand his reasoning, and I will say this
and I can't
as a
fault him.
as a parent, I will I get a little choked up saying it like this. As a parent, I have a young one. I have 2 older ones. Doesn't matter how old they get, they're still your kids. When you if you were to ever lose one, it's that damage. You
Yeah.
can't. And I'm not gonna make a joke about it. It's that level. And you see Troy, who is a beta Z, you know, a betazoid, and she's herself like who's a counselor dealing with this trauma that she's gone through,
Uh-huh.
and then Riker is trying to carry and shoulder like any father would. You try to carry the shoulder the weight for your family. It's deep. It deepens his character and it makes him the captain that he needed to be. Which
Yeah.
that's why I am 1,000% behind Riker. Like Chef's Kiss, perfect choice for an honorable mention. I mean,
And,
again,
I mean, there
if
can
he had to
even be a
chill longer than
study done
21.
on him because of mental health from his plots, his angles. I could definitely see that. But what do you say we just move on?
Yeah, let's go to the number one. Now, obviously, the number one. I mean, if I couldn't have laid you breadcrumbs anymore, folks, a fellow Baldy, a fellow, I mean, the yeah, Dave can crack all his jokes about the Shakespearean actor, but he's not a prick. That's the one thing I can say. He's not a prick.
Did you know that Roddenberry wanted him to wear a toupee, but
Yeah, I know. He
he
chose
packed the
not to.
toupee, but yep.
I'm going to say this. Of all the captains that we talk about, and the captains we haven't talked about, Picard is that captain that the 90s needed because, well, the late 80s, early 90s needed him because of what happened with Kirk. Kirk was a kind of campy space opera captain, this larger than life
Very free
character,
spirit.
free spirit, kind of like the rules are there. Picard was a rules lawyer, but he dealt with his family trauma. He dealt with leaving Earth. He dealt with helming the flagship of the Federation. He dealt with being an ambassador. He dealt with everything we said Janeway went through. Picard walked, and Janeway quotes him several times throughout. She
Voyager. Yep.
actually, when you watch Voyager, if anything, Picard was a mentor for her.
Yep.
And Wolf 359, which again, if you've seen Best of Both Worlds, that's Earth, that's the coordinates for Earth. That battle is what made Voyager, DS9, and every other show kind of have that as a
Viable.
it's like you want to understand what damage can do to war. Like when we talk about World War II, Vietnam War, Korean War,
Think of it
9/11,
kind of like a Pearl Harbor almost.
9/11, that level of trauma, unexpected, out of nowhere, massive loss. This is Picard's weight that he carried. And he carried it all the way through into his own private show, which was, for me, as a fan of Picard, the perfect swan song for his character to be written off TV. Where if he ever shows up, it's like I showed up in either like
It's
in like a singular one-off appearance. He the guy is 80 something, like 87, and he's now Professor Xavier in Doomsday. Like, I mean, the guy doesn't know when to stop. And I'm just like, man, like bring him back again. If he wants to keep acting, like hell, put him in the
80,
chair.
84 years old.
84. Put him in the
Yep.
chair, let him still be captain. But I like that he's like, no, let the other captains do their thing. And like he's doing kind of what Kirk did for him. Kirk in the Star Trek movie that they had,
Generations.
Generations, that was his passing of the torch to Picard. Picard never got that movie to pass the torch off to anybody else. Janeway, by default, I feel was his passing of the torch to saying, "You're going to lead a new ship, multicultural. Be that woman that's going to lead the future." Now, 110%, Picard is a focal point. He is like the Archer. It's funny if you watch the Next Generation, DS9, Voyager, they never mention Kirk.
Hey, Allison.
Hey, of course we got to be
Hey,
rebels.
rebels. Yeah, sure. We consider ourselves rebels,
I would
maybe
consider myself a
renegades.
cadet. I would consider myself a cadet. But you
I'm more of a
know,
lieutenant commander myself, but that's a whole other story.
but it's like when I think of Picard, I think of what my childhood needed to see. I think of episodes like where he actually was imprisoned in a Cardassian, not a
How
Kardashian.
many
Those are
lights?
that's
How
a
many lights
prison.
do you
You
see?
have 4 lights. And my friends and I we used to play D&D, and we would always mention that episode if our characters were traumatized, because it wasn't till the end of that episode where he says the real number of lights, because they were trying to break him.
When,
And he
when he
says the
tells Troy
number.
at the end. Yeah.
Exactly. She says, well, when he tells her, it makes the hairs on my arm stand up, because it was so PTSD. What people in Vietnam, what people in during the Cold War, what people are soldiers that come home now that have gone through this level of trauma. Like, you see it in his eyes. It's fantastic. The fact that they finally gave us for him as a captain, they finally gave us our swan song with him and Gates McFadden, the doctor, finally getting them to be a relationship. They shipped them, to use the vernacular the kids use. They shipped them, and they finally gave it, but they never had no payoff. And I'm gonna leave it at that. I know Dave
Yeah.
wants to continue that thought. I'm not gonna let you.
Well, no. What I wanted to add was he is the longest on-screen captain ever. 7
Mm,
seasons of Star Trek: Next Generation. We have Star Trek Generations. We have Star Trek uh, First Contact. We have Star Trek Insurrection. We have Star Trek Nemesis. He has the most on-screen time, plus his Picard series of 3 seasons. So he has the longest running on-screen ever. Because
what?
the original Star Trek was what, about 3, I want to say about 3 seasons, 3 or 4 seasons at
That
most.
was a couple
And
years.
then
It
you
was
have the 6 movies plus, or technically 7, because Kirk appears in Generations. But Patrick Stewart has the longest on-screen presence of any captain in Star Trek. So I, Dre's going to want to fact find this, I'm sure.
No,
But
no, I'm not. I'm not fact finding that. I'm actually looking for how many seasons it was.
yeah, so he has more
It was
on-screen
three
time than
seasons.
anyone.
3 seasons, almost 90 episodes, a little
Yeah,
over 80.
and Star Trek: The Next Generation, 7 episodes. And I will say this, I mean,
7 seasons, not episodes.
yeah, well, 7
No, but
seasons.
yeah,
But then,
making sure, folks, that you guys don't, because I know that you guys will catch us on a podcast that are listening, not watching, listening. And if you hear that,
but
he meant 7 seasons.
But think about the screen time for those movies and the screen time, the 7 seasons of screen time. I mean, he's the longest running captain, basically
Seated captain.
seated captain. Yes,
But yeah,
and
but I think Kirk would have the most amount of movies, though. Kirk would win the movies.
7 movies, technically speaking. But if you take that screen time,
It probably would equal
Patrick
out
Stewart
hard.
still beats him. He still beats Shatner.
Oh, Kate Mulgrew might be coming up on that, though.
Well, that's the hope. There, what Dre is alluding to is there is actually a talk of about a Janeway series. Very much, we had Star Trek Picard. We could have Star Trek Janeway. I know people would love to have Cisco, but Avery Brooks is a very busy person. But that's a whole other discussion right there. But I want to
Brad,
add about Patrick
go ahead.
Stewart
Go
about
ahead.
Picard. He started off very stiff at first. He was very reserved, and then eventually over time, those walls started to break. I mean, um, like Dre said, best of both worlds. After that, we saw a vulnerable Picard. Right afterwards, he goes back to France to his family. He kind of has uh, you know, kind of a battle of wits, kind of with his brother for a bit, and he finally breaks down, and they finally, they're brothers again. I mean, he goes through a lot of loves, of course, but he deals with a lot of trials. He even has his own diehard kind of a situation in one episode of Star Trek, which actually featured Tim Russ, who plays Tuvok in Voyager. He playing a different character where there's this barium sweep that's supposed to like clean and purify the Enterprise.
That was
And
a freaking dope ass episode because that I love the bad
right,
tech, the bad screen of like that orange barium wave that's just coming
yes,
through, and they're like, and it's like, boo.
and like the only
Love it.
person, these bad guys, kind of like this group of terrorists who are trying to steal this this precious I forgot exactly what it was, but it would be the extent of like stealing massive explosives that are very powerful. And what happens is Picard is still on the ship because he went back for his saddle. Because of course, any real uh any real rider will have their own saddle. That's a running gag. But he's on the ship. He's on the ship, and he has to. He basically it's him, Picard versus these other guys. So he has his own diehard moment. Of course, he has another one in Star Trek First Contact, but that's a whole other story. But I mean, Picard became he was the father figure. Kirk was like the fun uncle that we all had, and Picard was the father. But we loved him
Fun
so much
uncle,
for
more
it.
like creepy ass uncle.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely creepy. Here we go. I will only watch Janeway if they finally give her a decent haircut. They
Well,
fucked up, they fucked her up so much that Janeway was like one hair done after another. Yeah, she the
Peanut just had a little accident. I'm trying to get her fixed
the
up. I'm still going live.
I
So,
can't disagree with you, Allison. The constant trying to find her a decent hairstyle was kind of hilarious throughout Voyager. But Picard was, he was likable. He was someone you wanted to learn from. I mean, hell, in the show you had Will Wheaton as Wesley Crusher. Picard was a surrogate father for him. Everyone kind of looked to him as a father figure. I mean, he was the by the books, but also he knew when he could use those rules against other people too. Cobb says at David's life, okay, I'll check it out. And we got Cobb saying, Allison, hello from the other side. Hello there.
I'm finishing up the show. I'll call you back.
But yeah, those are my thoughts on Picard. However, my pick, to me, the baddest captain ever. And when I say bad, I don't mean bad in a negative sense. I mean bad as in think of Sam Jackson, a badass motherfucker. Now, ironically, these two characters are linked. Again, because Dre has mentioned Wolf 359. Now, when we first meet Cisco, he's actually Commander Cisco. He was a survivor from Wolf 359. Him and his son escaped one of the
That was the
ships.
opening episode
Yeah, the very
of
first
DS9
episode,
was the battle at
the
3 Wolf
Emissary, part
359.
1 and 2, which is a great one. They show the scene of him and his son Jake escaping their ship, but his wife, Jake's mother Jennifer, dies in a fire. She's
She was a
completely
captain too, wasn't she?
no, she wasn't. She was a
Oh, she was a
civilian.
civilian. Yeah, right. She was a
No, you're
civilian
thinking of
officer.
Cassidy Yates, who he hooks up with and marries later
Yes.
on.
Thank
She
you.
was a freighter and cargo captain who got herself in trouble, but then she kind of worked her way out of it. So, but no, he was Commander Cisco. He had a full head of hair. We get him looking like Hawk from Spencer for Hire because and those who think he looks like him, that was him.
Yep, facts.
That was, I mean, Avery Brooks is a great actor. He does this transformation. He's basically given a command of this former Cardassian space station that is orbiting the planet of Bajor. And it turns out that there is a wormhole, and he's kind of there to kind of keep the peace. He is a Federation, he's Federation's support because obviously Bajor just emerged from this war with the Cardassians.
Call
They
him what
need
his title was. He was the emissary.
yes, because turns out that he has a connection. These celestial aliens who live within inside the wormhole,
The wormhole
they
being
they chose Cisco as their emissary. So he's kind of a chosen one, and that kind of plays out a little bit over the seasons, but really picks up in the last season. But we're not going to spoil anything for you. I mean,
all right, wait, I'm gonna pause Dave for a second. DS9, as I said, if you don't mind it leaving the realm of Star Trek and going deep into political and religious philosophy, season 6 and 7 will piss you off because it is like,
it
granted,
gets religious.
it gets extremely religious in season 7. Like, I can't stomach watching any of the episodes of 7 because it's like the only reasons you watch 6 and 7
Is to
is
finish out the story.
in the side story with Bashir be going into section 31. That's the only
Yeah,
that's the only reason I cared about the show, because when they didn't want to cover those topics, they did the spy intrigue, which I loved. But
and
again,
honestly, that show has some great characters. I mean, Garrick,
Garrett
Julian
is
Bashir. I mean,
the
Miles
whole
O'Brien
cast. The
from
cast is
Star Trek.
great.
Yeah,
Cole Meany, yes, great cast. The thing is, I love the wormhole. I like the idea at the beginning was very cool.
definitely.
I mean, 'cause I mean, again, plays on a political idea of a country, needing NATO and
Yeah,
the Federation coming in to occupy what was once the enemy base of operations, and then the Federation has to decommission it and recommission it and change it to be more of a waypoint, and the emissary, meaning he's an envoy, a person that's trying to keep the peace even at a time of war. There's a lot of cool things to the
yeah.
show. It's just it deviates. The war is probably the best.
The
It is
Dominion
the best.
War.
The Dominion War is the best Trek war since Wolf 359.
And
Like, if
speaking of
you
Wolf
want war,
359, Dre, the scene between him and Picard in the first episode,
so
because
tense, so tense. You can cut that shit with a knife. It was.
because
I was thinking that when you were talking
because
about it.
Cisco knows who Picard is and
Oh,
what role he played in Wolf 359. So imagine you come face to face with the person who led the attack that ultimately killed your significant other. Yeah, like I mean, Avery Brooks did a fan friggin' tastic
oh,
job
he hated
in the
Picard.
show.
He.
Yeah,
It's like he even makes a joke about it with Worf. Like, he doesn't fault Worf for his captain.
no,
And they even make a comment about Worf, because we all know that Worf. Uh, there were times where Worf was not on the show. Michael Dorn was not on the show because they were
yeah,
filming the movies, and they make a comment about him becoming lieutenant commander. And the comment with I think he even said, like, you let like your they made a joke about it once in DS9, but I thought was funny at the time, was about when he's like, like, you wouldn't fight, like, because Picard says, if you he tells Picard, he's like, we will push no farther. We will not take, like, they won't go any further to fight against
yes,
the Borg. And he says, if you were any other man, I'll kill you where you
you,
stand. And you just have this hyper tense, like,
yes,
bro moment.
yeah,
And then Cisco makes a comment about it in the show. I thought that was very well played on Star Trek, and I don't know if that was Avery Brooks wanting to be like, well, I gotta still stick it to Picard because he's an asshole. But I love that
yeah,
dichotomy that they did keep it canon to what was happening.
yeah.
So very cool.
Unlike some shows where they kind of do a crossover and don't really mention it ever again, they kept that kind of going. And if anyone who notices, okay, you see that he's holding something, the baseball. Dre knows the importance of the damn baseball because there's a badass. See, when he's Commander Cisco, but eventually he's given the command of the Defiant, which is the most badass, most overpowered starship of the
First cloaking
time.
ship
Of the
of
time,
first and only cloaking ship next
it
to,
was
well,
designed to fight the Borg.
No, it was designed to
Yes,
fight the
it was.
Borg. It was also used for to infiltrate the Dominion and the New
Yeah,
World.
but
Zone.
the
We're
but
not going to
he,
go there because there's
yeah,
so much more we could go into with that. Because that
yes,
again, we
but
should do a whole
but
episode with the
Cisco,
ship.
he's such a badass because the baseball at one point they have to bug out of DS9 and what Gul Dukat
Golden Cot,
comes
yeah.
and he sees the baseball on the desk and he knows Cisco's coming back. He's like in his head, he's like, "Oh, we're fucked. We're screwed." Because Cisco, that's it's something of an heirloom and a personal object for him. If he was leaving permanently, he wouldn't leave it behind. So I mean that's the kind of thing like you knew like this is a guy who punched out for if anyone who's ever watched Star Trek, The Next Generation, Star Trek Voyager, you know of Q. And if you saw Star Trek season 2 of Picard, you know Q. The omnipotent Q played by the magnificent, magnanimous John Delancey, who is great at playing a villain in any TV show he's been in. I mean, he's done stuff for the Outer Limits, he's done stuff on repeatedly on Stargate SG1. He is great at being a villain. He is a great humanitarian and philanthropist. I can't say the word.
Philanthropist.
There, thank you. I mean, this is a guy who is so multifaceted. It's not even funny. But Q is this omnipotent, almost juvenile teenage like being who just feels like he can play around with any species. He can crush planets. He can throw Picard into a fantasy world where he has to play as Robin Hood, that kind of stuff. He shows up on DS9 because Picard's ex-girlfriend, Avash, shows up. And at one point, Cisco's trying to be chivalrous. He's trying to facilitate any way he can. And Q shows up and he's not going to have any of Q. Q says, "Oh, you want to sell this with Fiska, Fiskafus?" I can't talk.
Fisticuffs. Dave
Fisticuffs.
can't
There
talk
you go.
today.
That's all, folks. So what he Q snaps his finger, changes his clothing to like an old like 30s 40s boxer with the whole Mr. Pringle's handlebar mustache, and he puts Cisco in similar boxing clothes. Cisco punches him. He's like, "Wait a minute," and actually Q is toppled over. He's knocked down. He's like, "Wait a minute." Picard never hit me. I'm not Picard.
Hard. I love that line too. Very well said
I mean,
line too.
Cisco, he is a father. He's a father. He is a single father trying to raise his son. And just like think of like a military father, he go from assignment to assignment to assignment. His son is trying to acclimate to this new society. And also, sidebar, the Bajoran people view Cisco as a holy figure because he's known as the emissary, so he has to deal with that. But also, he doesn't like that. He doesn't embrace it.
Not until
Well,
like
not until
after the
much
war.
much much
Yeah,
much later.
way later.
But this is a guy who he has humility. He knows when he has to be tough. He knows when he can be playful and funny. He knows when he can be a little joking. I mean, this is a guy who he is probably to me he's one of the best captains ever because he's basically his first assignment. He has to face the person who's responsible for his wife's death. He has to. It's not even a starship, a space station that is like the size of what 20 or 30 starships possibly in the entire
Right.
diameter
Yeah.
circumference. It is a massive station. He has to face the Cardassians. He has to face all these aliens. He has to contend with the reality changing prophets inside the vortex. Hell, they deal with the mirror universe about what 3 or 4 times more
You
than
have
I
this
more than
show.
anyone else. I think.
You have to think about it from the perspective that you're saying there are so many intricate layers. Like it did what it needed to do to be a sequel show. And when I say
Yes,
sequel show, more of a continuation in a different area
expanding
of
of the
space.
universe.
Yeah.
No, not those. The
No, he wasn't.
Cardassians.
No,
Dacians, not
she's being a
Dashians.
smart ass like you. She's being a smart ass like you, which I like that. Someone got put to be a smart ass sim sometimes. He was dealing with political intrigue, you had the Jemadar, you had the Dominion War, you had the fight with the Jemadar,
The
you had the
founders.
Founders, you have the Changelings, which were, holy hell, a great villain in
Yes,
that
they were.
series. And they weren't even the main villain. They were a plot device villain that becomes a main villain way later in recent years. I'm gonna leave it at that
Or
for
the
y'all.
Klingons, actually becoming allies and a big ass contingent of them
Well,
on the station.
you have to look at it from the perspective. The Klingons we weren't the houses were divided. Let's just put it that way. The houses
Yes.
were divided, and they needed someone to step up. And that's why I loved that we had that political intrigue, because that was something that the movies kind of talked about for years. That there was a division amongst the different Klingon houses. They made a spoof on it in the lower decks. There's a lot of intrigue that I loved. The show really kind of got us away from the space station at times, but knew when to bring it back. But I think the real villain, Gul Dukat, I love his character. I think he is the perfect nemesis you needed to match that level of evil. And when I say evil,
The perfect balance, the
you
perfect
needed
foil
you need the
for
yin,
Cisco.
you need the yin to his yang. It's like Q was that villain for Picard. You needed this villain to be that foil for Cisco, and it worked well. Their dynamic was they respected each other. It's kind of, and it did not borrow from the movie ideas. It's like Victor Von Doom and Reed Richards. It's like Victor Von Doom and Iron Man. We're smart, we're powerful, we know what the other can do. We know we're gonna throw hands, but at times when we don't throw hands, we know when to walk away and call it a fair fight.
And
Don't
they
fight.
had kind of a dance at times as well.
It was
I
all
think
that's
that's
the
a great way to
baseball.
put it.
The baseball when Gul Dukat sat in that chair and threw the ball up and caught it. It's like I remember his second in command even said, he's coming back for that. And then you see Gul Dukat get this smirk, like I welcome the like it's almost like this like Moriarty and
Yeah.
Holmes. Like you have this great dichotomy of villains. And you didn't get that in TNG. In TNG,
It was
there
villain of
was
the week.
it
It
was
was
villain
villain
of
of
the
the week
week,
for the most part.
which worked, but then you had subplots and stories that interlinked the crew,
I mean,
and
with
you needed that. You needed that for that show because that was space exploration.
I
The
mean,
Borg
we had long
was the
story arcs. We had long story arcs in this.
long term booking, as we like to call it in the wrestling biz. We call it the TNG did long term booking. You'd have like a story for the week, but you had that tie that week. 6 years later will somehow be an event that'll do this. Where Cisco was more, the world has evolved around, and he lives in it, and then issues would
Yeah.
envelop. There was times that he argued with the Federation. Same with Picard.
Oh yeah.
There was times that the Federation would tell him, "You need to do what the Federation's telling you to do," and he's like, "You can't put me in a position to be here as captain, or like,
Are you
well,
our captain or are you the Bajorian's emissary?
exactly." And there was always that interplay, and I love that the war really kind of determined that role, and
Yes.
that war is actually a major catalyst to things that we got to see in Picard.
And
So I'm
Dre's
gonna
gonna
leave it
like
at
this though.
that.
Speaking of the intrigue and just the politics of it, there's a very famous episode where Cisco is he's kind of going over things in his captain's log, in his personal log, where he's going over events that happened where basically people were killed, lies were done, there was falsifying of documents, and at the end, he does, you kind of have a fourth wall break where the camera's aimed at his face. You can see him looking dead at it. You know, he says, but the question is, can I live with it? can I sit here and say that I can live with it? And then he starts saying it over and over again, more and more casual. Yes, I can live with it. And he holds up his drink, he takes a sip, and he deletes the whole log. I mean, there were times when he had to cross lines for the sake of. I mean, this isn't a starship he's commanding. He's commanding a space station, one of the most powerful space stations, not weapon wise, but because of where it's positioned, right there at the gateway to the Delta Quadrant. The fact that he's positioned there, there's the Cardassians, there's the Dominion War. He's dealing with all these things. Plus, he has to keep shopkeepers happy. He has to keep the peace on this station. He has to keep everything running smooth, and he's dealing with so much more than an average captain would deal with. And to me, he's the best captain because he was a family man. He could let loose, but he knew he stuck. He had his personal what's the right word I'm for? He had his personal code, and he stuck by it. And there was times when he starts a relationship with Cassidy Yates. She's doing something that is shady. Winds up that there's going to be charges against her. Does he step in to intervene? He doesn't. You know, he stood by Federation standards, and eventually she works her way back, and they're happy again and everything. But this is Cisco. Avery Brooks killed it. He freaking killed it. I mean, he's just. I mean, they do their during the series they do their like loopy crossovers. Like they go back to the episode of Tribbles, which is kind of a hilarious one.
The Tribbles are in every season, even Voyager. Well, Voyager was
Well,
saved,
every series,
spared. Yeah, Voyager was spared.
yeah.
And
Or
in Strange New Worlds, we saw them.
or him teaching baseball to his crew because they're going to face off against
The
a
Ferengi
Vulcan science vessel.
Nog.
Yeah.
That was actually, I think that was the coolest thing, though. Turning the Ferengi Nog into an ensign and
Yes,
then getting him to enter Starfleet. I think that was one of my favorite little things he did.
and it
Like
was something
Picard did that with Crusher.
you would never have guessed that from season one. You thought that Nog was just going to be kind of a toss away character, just something
Honestly, I
to
thought so too.
kind of to give like a just a buddy for Jake, and it was completely. I mean, they did a lot of great things. Like we have uh a Ferengi who doesn't care about wealth, who becomes basically an engineer under Miles O'Brien,
I
the
mean, he
Quark's
didn't care
brother.
about the rules of commerce. I mean, come
Yeah.
on, man. Like, all it's like
Well, I mean,
it's
come on, his love Lita. I mean, hey, crazy things have happened. But I mean, Cisco was just he was that force. He was the just like Picard was the force on the Enterprise D. Cisco was the force on DS9, and he kept like he had to butt head. He constantly butted heads with his first officer, Colonel Kira Nerys, who was the Bajoran liaison, of course. But eventually, she was such a hard ass that she became to respect him. That's the thing. Cisco is the kind of person where you could be enemies right off the bat, but you're going to respect him. You're going to respect him in the best way possible. Not like you're forced to respect him, but god damn his charisma, you just respected the guy because no matter what, he would give you a fair shake. You could be the worst of the worst, but he'll hear you out. And to me, Cisco is always going to be, as much as Picard is a great captain, and I love Picard. I would still love to see a series of Cisco to see what happens, but we're never going to get it. I know for a fact we're never going to get it because they would have to do a lot of fixing as far as the writing goes. And second, he Avery Brooks is happy being a professor in college. That's what he left to do. I mean, he did some plays, but he's happy educating young people. He if you anyone can look up interviews with Avery Brooks, probably within the last 20 years on YouTube, and he comes off as such a massively intelligent person, and speaking of wokeness. I shouldn't say wokeness, but as far as like uh my brain is Swiss cheese today, guys. I do apologize. But as far as like maybe inclusion and showing hardships, there was an episode where um Dre, you know which one I'm talking about, where they have the entire cast playing like 1950s people,
Oh
like
no, when they go through, yeah,
like
when he has to go through like what it was
the
like during Jim
publication.
Crow.
Yeah,
Basically, it's for those Dave's trying to insinuate. It's like what he had to go through during like civil rights and like I want to say like I don't want to say Jim
it's
Crow
almost
era.
fourth wall breaking because he starts to write stories of Benjamin Sisko in the future and is
It
wondering like who is really thinking or writing about
it
who.
blew. Oh, you want to say hi to Dave? You want to say hi to me? Fine.
Hey, Blue.
I don't like sharks tonight because I don't get a hello. But it was more. I think Dave is what Dave's trying to say is that was more a I don't want to say a ploy, but a foil for him to
Express.
express what he because he himself is very was into Miles Davis, was going through the
Yes.
struggle of being a black actor, and being a black actor on a predominantly show where to a cast to a show that they never really cast black actors in a favorable light. Not till we got Geordie LaForge on the Enterprise
Right.
in TNG. Cisco stepping up to become the admiral that he was, and not the admiral, the captain that he was,
Yes.
and to be a wartime admiral because he was a wartime admiral. You know, you got to give him his flowers. I love that he is the reason why I love Falcon so much in as Captain America because when you see what he did in Brave New World with like I said, The Office was all labeled like layered in this richness of African American culture. It's like Cisco did that in his. He always talked about his father's cooking. His father was on the show. His
And
father. And not, he's not
his
a real
father,
father.
the
His
actor who played
character.
his father, is pretty prolific in Star Trek as well. Admiral
Exactly.
Cartwright
Exactly.
from the original Star Trek crew movies.
And he would always talk about he would always be against. He always had this. It was a lot of propaganda. I think Dave was trying to mention propaganda. The show was fighting this idea about the government, like basically government involvement in places we're not supposed to be involved. It was kind of like a euphemism for discussing our involvement in Vietnam or our involvement in the Middle East. Probably more would have been more akin to our involvement in other
Yeah,
countries,
because that was
more
during
akin to
Desert Storm and
that
Desert
was
Shield
during
back
Desert
then. Yep.
Storm, post Noriega and all that lovely crap we had going down in South America. But it was going really more from a historical standpoint from that perspective. And I think that you get a very unique view. Picard is a classically trained actor. The guy is epitome of what you would think a captain in Starfleet would be, right? We always presumed that they were always because that's how they showed us. All the captains were elderly white men or middle-aged white men that were well built and they always had their subordinates. It wasn't till TNG that we started seeing that dichotomy change where we had more women step into the role.
We had
We
a lot
had
of
more
female admirals in TNG too.
in TNG, you had tons of female admirals and captains, but they never were given screen time.
True.
Then we get to DS9, and DS9 was like that. Hey, Savage, what's good, brother? That's where I think we got that flair, that
Yeah.
flavor that I needed for me as a person of color watching Star Trek
And
because
this
again,
this was
I was an outcast.
this was like the darkest Star Trek we got too.
No, I think Enterprise was a little bit more darker. There was a lot more themes in
Yeah,
Enterprise that
but
were
I
far
mean
more darker.
for the time, let's just say.
Mm,
Because
piecemeal. I think that there were episodes that were more adult themed than I think were like the. I think it suited the demographic they were shooting for, which is the 18 to 41 demo. Big shout out to my wrestling fans out there for Chris Jericho, the demo god. But I think that when you look at the show as a whole, it has a very heavy layer to it. It's that Star Trek that is not really loved by a lot of Trekkers. It's loved in a lot of ways because we got the Defiant, we got a lot of characters out of the show that made Trek history. But he's that one captain, and I was trying to remember the name of the documentary. Netflix aired this documentary about 20 years ago. And I kid you not,
What We
it
Left
is not
Behind.
What We Left Behind. By far one of the best documentaries to talk about the actors that were in the chair that left. Bakula was the only one that was still relatively young and was doing more in Hollywood than what you saw with Cisco and what you saw with Kate Mulgrew as Janeway. Janeway is now starting to creep back into the spotlight because I think of what Jerry Ryan and what Seven of Nine and what Prodigy has brought for her character.
I think Prodigy
know.
is a big part of that because I mean, Kate Mulgrew. Those who may not be big Trek fans, you might know her from Orange Is the New Black.
Yeah, she was.
She was on that. She was on that series. She had a
She was a
very
Russian.
strong Russian accent,
Yeah,
and
she
she
was
did a
pretty
killer
good.
job there.
Yeah, she did a fire job on
Yeah,
that show. But again, remember, folks, Trek, much like anything else, if you have to look at this, I'm gonna equate it to MASH. MASH
great
was
show.
themed. MASH was themed as a show of the time to talk about our views of America going into Vietnam, and the soldiers living and kind of dealing with that on their front in a comedic way, right? Now, MASH had some heavy-handed episodes where you were like, "Damn, these are some heavy topics," but they were few and far between. Yeah, they totally did. I loved her when she would always be in her little nightgown, and as Janeway, they'd wake her up, and you'd see her come through the bridge with her hair. I was like, "Damn, you sexy girl! Like, why don't they let your hair just go down?" But then they did the same thing to Jerry Ryan with that crazy whoop, the cowlick beehive. But I didn't care about that because I just saw Borg implants where I needed to see them. So we'll leave it at that. But again, there's a lot to both of these captains that I think Trek never touched on. And it was something as the second and third shows of this Trek, what becomes the Trek timeline, really played integral parts of not just storytelling, but pop culture. People hear the Borg, people know who the Borg is. It's been used in pop culture references on Adult Swim. They've used it in like several little comedy skits here and there. And again, it's very well known who Captain Picard is. We have memes of him everywhere. Cisco, not so much. And I think that that's sad because he came on the tail end of probably one of the best Star Trek series. And then you have Anson Mount, where he's like this kid's generation's Picard. You need him to be that captain that I want to see carry Trek till Rory grows up. And she tells me, "Papa, you had Picard. My uncles had, they had Kirk. She gets Pike." And I think that that's going to be a very telling thing, and I wish that it would have been him. Hopefully, maybe we see another captain show up that's going to, I mean, I'm saying this very not tongue in cheek, but I'm saying this with a very sad heart. Discovery, Michael Burnham could have been that captain. Could have been.
Potential.
She had potential. Bad writing and the studio canceling the show did her dirty and did not give Sonequa her chance to be the Star Trek captain I wanted her to be. Because she had high potential.
I mean, that first season had so much, and then it kind of, to borrow a vernacular from the UK, it went pear shaped.
Oh, definitely pear shaped.
I mean, hopefully who knows? Maybe we'll see something through Star Trek Academy.
I mean,
I have hopes. They're not high hopes. They're not high, but I have hopes.
Nobody ever leaves the Star Trek family. When you're in the bubble, you're in the bubble. It's
Yes.
it's very much like Jerry O'Connell. And for those of you that thought, oh, Jerry O'Connell is just a voice, he also did wear the red suit as a background character in a movie and in a TV show once. From what I've heard from other people that have seen him at shows, he's talked about it. Even though his wife is currently the third in command. Yeah, she's the
No,
third
no,
in command, or
no.
fourth in command on the.
No. She's number one.
No, she's not. Because Spock is Spock is
No.
lead science officer. You're right, she is number one.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say she's technically, but if you think about it in the rankings, it would be Singh, Pike, Singh, Spock, then her.
Because she's his number one. Now, what's your name? Singh. She comes after her, but she was in her place when Una was arrested and held. She was the acting number one.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
And
Like so,
and then that first episode, because she was on mission elsewhere, Singh was her number one. Or yeah.
and just for when we mentioned that we say you should watch things in order. When we say that you watch, and I say this, and I openly say this, it's the sacred timeline. TNG, TOS really is kind of isolated in its own bubble. Like a lot of people joke that it's the Trek that, why is it even mentioned? It's the precursor Trek. You know, it's technically, nobody really mentions it till Generations when Picard gets his movie with Kirk. And then we never hear mention of it again until Zefram Cochrane. And then you get it mentioned briefly in other shows, but it's never. Kirk is mentioned in like passing. People talk about Picard, they talk about Cisco, they talk about Archer, they talk about even the Abrams universe made mentions of Archer. Like that's why you start seeing the crossover of the universes. It's a lot of cool things that like I don't call it a multiverse. Discovery kind of fucked that all up and makes it a multiverse, which drives me nuts. Because that's why you have Strange New Worlds, because Strange New Worlds was a show that was created because Discovery created a multiverse.
Split-ended timelines.
Branches, folks, much like Disney's
Loki.
So if anybody ever wants us to do this, Dave and I have tinkered with this. It is on my list of ideas. I would love to do deep dives, like recorded. It'd be long form content that we would pre-record. That would be kind of giving you guys like a 411 about why when you watch the show, like key episodes to watch in each of these seasons. Because some of it can be very heavy and a lot to try to sit and digest in like however you want to digest your shows. So I would say TNG has about maybe 20 episodes that I think are key to watch the show. Like you can watch all the other content, but there's 20 episodes that I think you could pick out. DS9 probably has about 10, maybe a little less. When you get to Voyager's another long season. And if you guys are interested in us doing that long form, kind of informing you content, pre-recorded stuff, we want to do that. And it's something that this is a very big passion of mine. I love Star Wars, and I know a lot about Star Wars. I don't know nearly the depth like General Kenobi, and I'll give a shout out to Archer. Like there are YouTubers out there that are way into their content and know their shit. I am like not that kind of Star Wars fan. I know weird things, but I don't know like what on Kashyyyk is the sunrise mean on the fart of a bullfrog, and I can't tell you all that shit. In Star Trek, I can do that. I can give you reasons to why there is this connection to this, to that. And if that's something you guys would love Dave and I to do, comment below, mention it in the chat now. Because again, and if you are catching this and listening to it as a podcast, comment in the podcast. Let us know if that's something you want us to do. I think it's a fun way to hear two fans that are diehards about this. Dave did it very well when he did his content for the Leapcast. I've done it solo when I've done stuff on my personal channel. So if you guys want to see that, we would love to bring it back. Um, I want you guys to be able to, and I'm not going to put it just to Star Trek. If you are okay, David's life. See, that's the reason why I like this. If you are really wanting that, Dave and I are looking for ideas because when we do take breaks, we don't want there to be a lack of content. So that's why when Dave was off, I was like, I even tinkered and I asked him, I said, would you mind if I came on? And I said, I don't want to be by myself. It feel weird without Dave because this show he doesn't like even doing it without me. When I'm not on the show, he says it feels off. And the chemistry's not right. So that's why we're doing recorded content. So if you guys want some of that more recorded content, we can interlace that in with live episodes. I know that would fuck up the algorithm, and we don't want to do that because you got to, as much as the precious time on, you got to pay attention to the algorithm. But if that's something you guys want, let us know. We can start putting it in as episodes to pepper in. We could do during the week. And I'll bring in experts too, because we have people like Allison. We have people that I know are very deep into the lore of like knowing their stuff. Dave, did you see this?
Algorithm over all things. There you go.
We need to get that as a T-shirt.
Algorithm over all things.
Can we shoot that? Can we get us like Calvin and Hobbes pissing on it? Like, fuck you, algorithm.
Pissing on the algorithm. I wonder if that's already been done.
I've never seen a T-shirt for that, but I hope you guys really enjoyed this because this for us is a step outside of. I mean, you guys all know Dave and I are very big fans of a lot of stuff, but if there was like maybe if I can count on one hand things I know really really well, Star Trek's on that hand. I would even throw Sentai, like Kamen Rider. Dave, I would throw Power Rangers his way most definitely, and that's what we were supposed to do was a Sentai discussion. So, as I was saying, I'm gonna kind of go over our schedule that we have coming out on May the 9th, next Friday. We will not be live. Dave said he will be.
Episode.
It'll be a pre-recorded episode. We're not going to tell you the content. Just tune in Wednesday. Dave will blast it, and I will blast it on social media so you guys can see what the episode's about. Dave said he will be popping in, and I hope he doesn't because he has an important reason why he's not on the show that day. So he should be focusing on that than not being on the chat. And I will yell at you if I see you in the chat too much because mine would get mad at me too. I'm going to leave it at that.
Hey.
So, pissing on the algorithm is not a thing, FYI. It should be. Because Dave and I do that all the time. We don't do anything. Whatever the algorithm tells us to do, we should put out Ross content. This is what Dave and I say to that. We should
Ross
talk about.
Is a 4-letter word.
Wait, we should talk about Maximum Spider-Man because everybody else does. As two Spider-Man fans with hot toys and tons of figures, this is what we say to it. And we don't mean it in any negative way to the people that do that content. We just don't want to follow it because we don't need to.
It's already oversaturated as it is.
Look, we should be technically talking about this, right? Because this is the thing. I don't want to talk about it.
Dre, I just have one question.
Are you ready?
If anyone sees the movie Thunderbolts, do we find out why there's an asterisk? Just a yes or no.
Yes.
Okay. That's all
it's
we need
implied.
to know.
I'm just gonna say it's implied. It's implied. They did make a weird. Okay, so let me just go off on this Thunderbolts thing because if it does, I just want to not move out the movie. So I got suckered in because I like popcorn buckets and I have the popcorn bucket like I said in the kitchen and I got this. So I got this.
Ricardo.
So they had little figures. So the guy was gonna give me a character I did not want, and I laughed at him because he's like a teenager, like 16 years. He was young Dave. He was young Dave, and he was trying to be like, "Hey,
I worked in a movie theater once.
That's what I'm giving you the compliment, giving you your flowers." And he turned around and he was giving me a character I didn't want. So I was like, "No, I don't want that one." And Lana looked at me like, oh shit, like, what are you doing? I was like, he's like, well, who do you want? I'm like, do you have all the characters? He's like, yes. I said, get me Elena Belova. And he was like, no problem. And he's like, who's that one? He actually said that to the guy that was ringing me up. And he ends up, I just pointed to the top of the display. And he's like, oh, okay. I just thought that was funny. There is and so they made a, I want to say hockey puck shape, but it was like this big, about the size of a size 12 sneaker, the diameter of a roasted chicken with the asterisk and a straw in the middle of it. And they said that was a cup. That's way too much liquid to me. I'm going to be 47 years old. My bladder is small. I got to go to the bathroom. There's no way I'm consuming that much liquid in a sitting. When I came home, this thing was still half full. Just saying. Just saying. Putting that out there.
You said you went to Regal?
Yeah, Winter Regal. That hockey puck thing was in the theater. It was on one of the advertisements on the TV as it rotated, where they had all the food stuff advertised. I'll see if I find it. And I'll send it to you, and I'll show it to you online.
You mean this?
Yeah, that was it. Oh, so it is a popcorn bucket. That's holy shit! The guy told me that was a cup. He didn't separate the two things.
It looks like it is a cup with a bucket that actually fits in there for storage.
But the way the kid explained it to me, he said it's a cup. He didn't say it's the popcorn bucket and the cup. That makes sense. Okay. Because I was about to say good googly moogly. Because Lana and I were trying to figure it out for the life of us. How the heck does anybody drink that much fluid?
Now you know. Knowing's half the battle.
Appreciate it. Yeah, that was way more expensive. I got a deal.
They don't show any other like the cups, the toppers, or anything.
No, they're Funko Pop toppers. They're Funko Pop toppers. That's all it is.
But no, they have Funkos, but not the. They're not showing the toppers.
They didn't have the T-shirts there either, which I would have bought. I would have bought the Red Guardian T-shirt if they had it. I guess I just have to wait.
3X. Will that fit?
I mean, I don't wear 3X. I wear XL. I lost too much weight.
Okay. Bucky.
Yeah.
Yelena.
Bucky. Yeah. I want to say there's so much that's like I want to just go like and I can't. But again, I do honor the what's the size of drinking the popcorn? Large. The popcorn bucket I got was a large one. So that's something that if you do choose to buy that bucket, it's not a little thing. Like me and Lana, we didn't eat anything and we went into the theater and we ate half of the popcorn bucket together, and we also had churros. So I mean, we probably could have polished the whole bucket off if we didn't have churros. Again,
Dre, don't judge me. I've never had a churro, technically.
We're gonna have to fix that. I'm just gonna have to leave it at that. And you might, and I was very surprised. These were really good. They actually changed they added more, and the dipping sauce changed. Lana ate the dipping sauce because it's chocolate. You know, I'm not gonna touch that. But we killed there was like 20 for like $7, and they're pretty good size too. So next week's episode is gonna be pre-recorded. That's gonna go on at the scheduled time, 9 o'clock. So I know you guys are used to catching us at 10:30. Next week.
Okay, so we're gonna go 9 o'clock.
I want to set exactly. I want to set the show as a pre-record to get you guys kind of prepared for the 9 o'clock hour. Now, yes, I do know that other people are streaming at that time. I know that we're not the same content. Like I said, we're not talking toys. We're not streaming. We're not streaming video games. We're not doing anything like that. So, and the next episode we have is going to have the lovely Toy Princess come with us. We're doing another remakes, which I got to get with her next week and discuss some of the ideas, because we've talked a lot about the ones we talked about on that show. Thanos brought up a couple of good ones, but I want to pick Allison's brain to see if we want to maybe throw some new ones in there and see about some ideas off of her. So we'll be doing that. And I do know that we're going to have a couple more people coming on the show. I'm trying to find my notebook. Here we go. So I want to just give you guys kind of a little tidbit because the week after Allison, we should be getting Beast, which I'm going to kick his ass for not showing up tonight. Beast will be coming on, and we have. So actually, we have Allison. I have to reconfirm with the guest we had for the 23rd because I haven't heard back from them in a while. So yeah, see what if they're interested. If not, Omari will still be going on the May 30th. We are off June 6th because Dave will not be here, so that'll be another pre-recorded episode.
Yep.
And
I'm a terrible.
then on 6/13, we are going to do Sentai discussions. Now, I do have a guest slated for that night, but he has kind of thrown me a curveball for time, so I don't know what we're going to do yet. So I kind of shifted him. I'll be getting with him to work out that decision.
Into Turku?
Then we have Archer back on June 20th, which I've got to reconfirm with him that date. And then we got Travis, the other half of Toily, coming at the end of the month. So, but that's kind of the plan we have for the show. The topics are going to be some horror movies when Omari comes on. Obviously, Sentai discussion is going to be some cool stuff. Boom Studios just dropped a massive update that's huge, which is VR Troopers are now becoming canon to Power Rangers universe, which is a slap in the face to me as a true aficionado of Sentai and Tokusatsu.
I would be happy if they remained separate, personally.
They're not. They're part of the Eltarian
army. No, but I'm just saying, no.
I know, and I get it that the writers at Boom Studios were fans like us that grew up with this stuff, and we're gonna have that discussion when we do the Sentai discussion because I want Brick to be a part of it because I want to see what he says. I want to see what he thinks because I know you and I are kind of similar in the mindset. I don't like it, but I still want to read the comic book. I'm gonna buy it. It comes out on June 25th, like that week. It's gonna come out, so I'm gonna buy the first issue. So I'll be checking it out at least, and I might do a review on it on this channel as well as my own. We'll see. But Dave, do you have anything going on your channel coming up?
Right now I'm actually in the process of trying to do some videos because your boy just made himself a Mr. Fusion, and I'm going to be actually have the recorded video from the printer of this actually being made. So we're going to be doing like a little video on that. I am going to be starting production, or I shouldn't say production, but assembly on the groundwork for Flux Pack Mark II. So we're going to be doing some content on that soon. So guys, stay tuned with that as you deal with a novice who's never done anything like this before. Build one from scratch with some of the knowledge and tutelage that he has been given by Millennium Workshop, Rex. It's all your fault I'm doing this stuff. Not really. But I have some content like that. I do have some unboxes. And I keep meaning to do some live. So we'll see if we do a live next week. I might be doing a gaming live because I notice a lot of people, including Ghostbusters News, doing Ghostbusters replay. Even Just Jeff has done one. So I might be doing some Ghostbusting. So we'll see what happens with either Spirits Unleashed.
Shifting days? I'm sorry to interrupt, but are you still considering shifting days?
I'm kind of like not sure how I can do that because Thursdays obviously are very, very heavy. Fridays obviously we're going to the earlier time. So Tuesdays I might stick with Tuesdays even though Tuesdays are still a rough day. Or I might do Mondays. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. So I still have to find a nice balance. I'm going to try and see now as far as gaming, I'm going to try and do a couple streams on YouTube and then a couple streams on Twitch to see which one is more receptive, and we'll take it from there.
Not bad.
But I will say this: Do we want to give the kids at home insights into what next week's episode is about?
No, I told you Wednesday. Wednesday we drop it on social media.
So I can't tell them about Batman coming to visit us? Okay.
No, no,
By the
they
way,
gotta.
those wondering, this is a dice tower, actually. This does open up. You actually open up the top, the dice falls through right there into the receptacle. Although someone came up with a good idea. A buddy of mine suggested I could actually open this up, and this could be like the top for a trash can. So I got a couple ideas. I think it'd be great as a popcorn bucket. It's Back to the Future's 40th anniversary, kids. So hey, popcorn buckets. It only took me a couple days to print it.
Not bad, not bad.
And
So
this was printed as well.
yeah, I got to see all this like as it was happening, so it was very
Yeah.
cool. Like Dave
Dre was like,
saying,
Dre was saying to himself, God, he sent me another picture. Jesus, just show me the finished product already. God.
I no, it's very cool to see the finished product. It's very cool to see the process because I've gotten to see the process for like my Devil Ray. I've gotten to see the process for a lot of the things that the projects he's worked on. So, and I agree with David's on it. Totally could be a popcorn bucket, and maybe who
Yeah.
knows. Um,
I'm gonna have the better popcorn bucket when they come up with one later this year. Watch.
you probably are. As far as me, I am going to do something a little different. I had an idea, and I was starting to script everything, and then I worked this week. Uh, we ended up seeing some DEI, and when I saw this what this month was, I said, "Holy shit! How could I not do this?" This is for anybody who doesn't know. It's Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So I said, "Holy crap! I can't believe I forgot." I've done for my wife when she teaches. This time of the school year is kind of iffy because I usually do something for her classroom. I'll put up something. I do the heroes of color for that are Asian Pacific, Asian American or Pacific Islander. Um, this time I'm actually going to be doing a couple of videos. I'm going to probably film a few of them tomorrow. Obviously, next weekend's Mother's Day, so I probably won't film a whole lot, but I'll be trying to
But
get a
it's also
couple of these.
backlash.
That's Saturday. So before that, I get see. So we still have to go see my mother-in-law. I think we're gonna see her Sunday. I don't know yet because getting the dinner on Sunday, any restaurant's gonna be freaking packed, and we both have work and school the next day. So we're gonna figure that out. But more than likely, I'll be filming some of this content, and it'll be characters of Asian American or the Pacific Islander culture. So I have a few characters that I've looked into that I want to do some deep dives. I got to break out some comic books and just kind of brush up on the characters a little bit. But there will be before this month is out. There should be at least my plan is for the series to have at least 7 episodes. So that's my goal as Dave is playing with things.
I
so
click on things and know things. What?
so that's what I planned. Part of what I'm doing. I still, like I said, I still am doing my cartoon content. Um, I have tinkered with doing a wrestling podcast again. I used to do one well over several years ago, 7-8 years ago. I used to do one called Outside Interference. I brought it back briefly for like a month, and then the group that we were doing it like kind of just disintegrated, and I've been wanting to do it again. Um, I would like to do it just because we have so many people in our Wrestle Talk group that are toy collectors. I've kind of dabbled a little bit back into the wrestling toys, not heavily. Uh, I really I picked, but I did get like my Jacob Fatu T-shirt. So I'm thinking about it. I don't know. It might be like a monthly thing where like I just bring like we bring it on like on a week on a weird night, and we either pre-recorded it. I haven't figured out the format yet, but I have to ask these people to bring them on. Dave would be one of them. I have a few other people I want to ask as well, just to have a couple different perspectives because I know that I'm very bold in my perspective on what I feel about wrestling, but I wouldn't mind having other people on the show to talk their ideas through as well. So I'm going to try to make a roundtable. Maybe we'll do this once a month, bearing in mind people's schedules. And also, I do plan to do movie reviews on this channel the day movies drop in July. Every week in July, there will be a film dropping every week, my birthday week included. I will be seeing every single one of those movies. Fantastic Four, I'll probably be seeing twice. The plan is to go. Lana's not going to be back from Florida till the end of July, so like I'm going to see it that Thursday, and then I'm going to go see it with her again when she gets back home. So I will be seeing Fantastic Four twice, but I will be giving a full-on review. If you do not wish to watch it, I will tell you now, it will be spoiler-ridden, so the video will be warned. I will not be making a spoiler-friendly
No
video.
Band-Aids allowed.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I adhere to it, but social media has been so toxic lately with the amount of people that are like putting it Thursday afternoon, like, and Wednesday night. Hey, this is the secret 2-minute after the movie credit scene that you need to watch. Why post it to social media? I get you on clout, but like it aggravates me because more than half the comments say the same thing I'm saying, which is shut the fuck up. I don't want to see you. I want to just watch the movie, enjoy what I'm gonna watch. So I will be doing that thing, and it is rumored that I may be doing a cosplay, and I may be having Dave help me build it. As you guys can see, I want to cosplay Alexi, the Red Guardian. I haven't decided if I want to go the full route, but I may start growing this bad boy out. Not in the summer because North Carolina's fucking balls ass hot, and I do not want to have a full on beard.
I think you probably need like the Marvelous Collectibles Wrestling, right? His kind of like how his beard comes out. I think that would be the target, maybe.
But see, the problem is with this grows.
In between, or an in between, maybe.
We'll see. We will see. But expect to see a review of each movie that's coming out, which is the new Jurassic Park movie, the Fantastic Four film.
Yeah.
There is Lilo and Stitch. We're probably going to do one too, and that's the
I'll
end
be
of
honest.
the
I
month.
do want to see Lilo and Stitch.
After what we saw today,
Thoughts.
Peanut told my wife, she's like, "Mama, I want to go see it," so we're going to go see it. There's a couple of other good movies. I'm going to go see Sinners. I'm going to try to go see Sinners tomorrow. Because I have a free movie ticket. I don't want to drive 30 minutes to the theater because it's a Regal and
He's got free movie ticket. What?
Well, I know. Yeah, it's not really free because Regal now charges you $2 convenience fee. So it's still a $2. It's a $2 movie ticket. So
let me see. Oh, I'm sure Dre wants to see I Know What You Did Last Summer.
I do, and Alana wants to go see that too.
Happy Gilmore 2
No,
comes out in July.
Don't care about it.
Super Duper Man, Superman. You don't want to see that actor in the really bad cosplay outfit? Naked Gun?
Okay, I'm gonna say this. Nope, I'm gonna say this. I gotta say this. Dave, do not get mad at me. I'm not gonna say anything about the movie. I promise. Thunderbolts did Superman better than Superman will do. I'm gonna guarantee that by what I saw. What I saw today, and I'm looking in the camera. What I saw today, DC, James Gunn.
There you go.
You should be taking notes because what I saw today was the best Superman never done by DC. Mic drop on that.
Now,
all the Superman fans.
By who is it? Jake Schreier is his name.
So I'm gonna say Superman. I will go see Superman in the theaters. I'm not gonna do a Thursday drop for him. I already said I'm not driving to Regal. I'm gonna go to my local like crappy theater and it's gonna go see it there, it's gonna cost me like maybe $6. I
I
have
mean,
no.
we're looking at 80% Rotten Tomatoes, 95% at Fandango. IMDb's giving it a 7.8 out of 10. Screw them. So far 95% like this movie. So apparently people are raving this movie. Dre's
It's good.
raving about it.
It's good.
He needs a friggin' fidget spinner right now because he wants to talk to me about it, but I haven't seen the
Oh
movie yet.
God. Oh God, there's so much I want to say, and there's so much that when I know because Dave and I are very like-minded when we see a movie, we analyze things. There's Easter eggs all over it. There's so much I want to talk to him about, but I have to
Thanks
wait.
for dropping
So
through, cool guy.
I love your name. Oh, Fantastic Four is going to be amazing. I'm right now. I'm going to say movie of the summer. I'm going to say right now movie of the summer.
Thank you, my brother. I
if
hope
it's
you're
not,
doing good, man.
if it's not, I'd be surprised. But I'll be doing
Yeah.
full on reviews. I'm not going to post them to the channel because obviously I want to be respectful of Dave. So they will sit fully ready to go until he sees it. Because I don't want to post a review on our channel and he hasn't watched it yet. That'd be unfair to him.
So, in other words, I have to make sure I see them the day Dre's seeing them. I have to coordinate my schedule so I can do that.
Yes. So pretty much every day in July, expect it, you know.
I honestly,
Wait, you agree with me? You totally agree with me, right, Ricardo? Right?
Superman
Hands
is
down.
not on my list right now. Superman, as far as the trailer that they've released and everything I've seen that has been posted, I am not. I am a Superman fan, mind you. I am not psyched for this movie. So this movie is on. It's very low on my list as far as priorities,
Oh wait, I am
and
planning to go
that
see
might be a hot
Mission
take.
Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I do need to see
Thunderbolts is a very good movie. That's all I'm going to say, and I agree with that comment. There you go.
I told you, best Superman DC never did, and
Are
I'm
you
leaving.
referring to Century?
I'm gonna leave it at that. For whatever, ever, ever. You guys can clip
Ever,
this.
ever, ever,
I
ever.
know. I love Archer when he clips things. Archer, if you want to clip this, you can clip this. You can talk all you want about Superman. Sentry would whoop that ass, and they did a better job than Cavill, better job than Hochin, better job than Welling, better job than anybody to give me a modern take on what Superman
Are
should have.
you are you including Christopher Reeve?
No, Reeve is
Okay.
God. Reeve is God. You don't touch him.
I because I
God
was
love him.
waiting for you. I was waiting for you to say.
I stopped.
I noticed you didn't mention Ralph.
Now
Wow.
wait. In Fantastic Four, I'm biased, and I am very open about my bias for that film because it's got my boy Pedro.
Pedro.
You got my boy Pedro. We got
But
a
by the
Latino
way,
in the role. Let's rock and
fans of
roll.
Pedro, there's a new term that's been coined by me thanks to a friend, some friends who are very obsessed with Pedro. If you are a fan of Pedro Pascal, you are a Pascalwag now.
I'll own that all day. Call me a scallywag. Call me a scallywag.
I'm even thinking of making up the T-shirt. So who knows?
I'll
We'll
totally
see.
rock it. Give it to me and I'll wear it the day of the movie. I have no qualms.
Have you watched The Last of Us?
I'm not going to comment because I played the games and I watched the episodes and I cried.
So you already know what happens.
I already knew when I played the game. I already knew what was going to happen. I knew how this had to go, and
But
it had only one way
still,
to go.
but
It
when you
hurts.
watch it though,
It hurts. That's all I'm gonna say. So I'm gonna leave you guys with this thought that if you don't want us to record movies, or want us to talk about the movies, I will honor. I will be fair. Up
he will
until
honor,
July,
he will cherish, he will
it is
obey.
until July, I will honor the code of the 1 week you get. If you have not seen the movie after a week, I'm sorry. I'm gonna spoil the shit out of it. Now
Are
July,
you prepared for Archer to
all
come after you?
oh yeah, Archer, come after me. I love you, Archer. I would love. I want to come on your show and we could totally go toe to toe with it because you and I are good. We're
So
good.
so
But I
Ricardo
see. You know
says
what?
he was pleasantly surprised with Thunderbolts. He went in skeptical, and he loved the movie.
Now, Archer, this goes out to you, brother. I called your name.
If you're listening.
If you're listening and you catch this on any replay, I want to go toe to toe with you about Superman. I've watched all your videos. I've watched all your clips. You're giving it some good love. I want to go toe to toe with you after that movie comes out.
Now,
We will do
do
a
you
live
think it's
together.
James Gunn love, or do you think it's just love for the character?
I love James Gunn too. Gunn is awesome, but he's Marvel awesome. He's Suicide Squad awesome.
You mean
He's
he's
Peacemaker
DC?
awesome.
I don't.
He does not get. Superman is an IP that's got too much weight around it, and it's heavy as the head who wears the crown.
I think it's got a curse around it.
I think so too, and it's had a curse on it for a long time. So if you guys want to see us do a nice little verbal debate over Superman, and not over I want to talk about the new one. So we'll release it the same day. I'll talk to him that day if he wants to. Whatever we gotta do. I plan to go see that movie probably that Friday, and I'll probably go see it early after I get off work. And if he's up for later in the evening show around our time, I have nothing planned for our show that day. We will come on and we will totally talk about it. But that's up to him. And I know Dave would be totally game for it. So, but yeah, Jurassic Park, Superman, we have Fantastic Four, and I think those are the three big movies I wanted to talk about for July. And then obviously we have Lilo Stitch, The Final Reckoning, Mission Impossible, which I will be going to see
Looking
probably
forward to that.
IMAX. And I think that was all I can think of off the top of my head. Because we don't have really anything else that's majorly dropping. There are some other sleepers like Sinners. Dave and I've talked about it. We will do a Sinners video once he's seen it, and once I've seen it. We will do a video dedicated to because I love Coogler, and I think he needs. From all the clips I've seen of this movie, I need to see it. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Now, obviously,
did you hear about the Gillian Anderson? She communicated to Coogler that she thinks he would be great if they did an X-Files movie, and for her to call him. So
Gillian
she
Anderson's actually in something too recently. I'm not gonna say what, but she's in a project I just saw in a trailer today. I was real surprised too. I called it out. I was like Gillian Anderson, like holy shit! Like I did not.
But apparently, she thinks he would be amazing at doing an X-Files. So
I
even if it's
actually,
original,
I wouldn't think Coogler would fit for that because that's not his style.
yeah.
I would think more of Michael Key.
Okay,
Not Michael Key, Jordan Peele.
Peele.
I think Jordan Peele would be more of a thing because he loves horror and sci-fi. I think he would do a better job at the aliens thing than Coogler. Coogler does fantasy. He does. But again,
Fantasy Island.
he's doing vampires, and I mean, I need to see it now. So, if you guys, again, whatever content you guys like us to do, I do love getting comments on our videos and knowing if there's anything you guys want to see us do. Like I said, Dave and I have tons of fucking ideas, and between his freaking ADHD and my OCD on coming up with lists,
we balance out.
We balance each other out perfectly on this one. So if there's anything you guys want us to do, mention it to us because this is going to be, I think, the summer for films. And I think the summer for films is actually going to start this month. I think we got some bangers coming out in the next like 3 weeks. And I think it's going to be straight on. Like nobody really cares about June. It's going to be July is the bangers. And I'm already figuring out how to like not want to work the last week of that first week of July so I could get to just see movies the entire week. But we'll figure that out. But yeah, like thank you guys for enjoying our Star Trek talk on a day we're supposed to be celebrating Star Wars. We did mention the Mandalorian, so there is our ode to Star Wars.
I mean, we didn't get to do this on First Contact Day, so hey.
So hey Star Wars, we love you.
Those who know know.
But see, listen, Star Wars, we love you, but sometimes your fandom is a little too toxic, like most other fandoms are. But your day, you get May the 4th, but you know what? You're at the free comic book day.
No, they don't just get May the 4th.
They get Revenge of the 5th too. I know the whole thing. So y'all take 2 freaking days in May. No, not on our channel, not on our watch. So, I mean, like I said, you guys know You guys know what our content is. You guys know what we're looking to do. Ideas. If you want to be a guest on the show, feel free to shoot Dave and I a message. It will be based on 9 o'clock Eastern time. Eastern time. So if I have reached out to you, reach back out. Again, thank you for those that came through and watched us last week. I really, from the bottom of my heart,
like
appreciate
Jay
it.
said, we will have a few exceptions to that rule, but we will adjust accordingly.
Mhm.
Uh,
So,
but guys, Dre, what do you have to say?
as I always say, you guys, watch your heads as we exit the portal. We'll catch you on the flip side.
Get you guys later, guys. Take care. And don't forget, Comic Book Day.
Dre and Dave hit it hard in the dark, spinning tales from the void, never bark. Movie shows, they tear apart. Dimensions clash, they ignite the spark.